Hello.
Hello, my friends. Victor, you're so nice! Thank you! Aww. I hope you are doing really well. And you're doing an amazing thing by sending that message. I had cheese and peanut butter crackers. Like they were cheese crackers and you put peanut butter on them, or they came with cheese and peanut butter? Was that someone else I just heard? Where? My roommate doing the laundry outside. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. No, wait, no jelly. Oh yeah, I wanted to see if the thing pinged. Live ping. It did! Oh my god, it did. And it even updated my streaming thing. Wow. This bot, crazy. Felt like someone else in your room also said hello? No! Maybe you're hearing things, Ash. What, a clothesline? That's what clotheslines are for. Joler! Joler. Whoa, it's weird. The way the ping cord, alerts people and the way that Sapphire Bot alerts people is different. Like, one has like a little picture of what I'm streaming and the other one doesn't. Wild. Unless it does that, no. Just chatting, it does that. They locked me in a room, rubber rats! Rats. Guys, I've been... It's... Have you been seeing? I've been slowly updating the server. Today, was it today? I guess so. Today I added Pokemon Bot, OO Bot, except I don't know how to use OO Bot. It's supposed to be like a fighting and collecting game, but I don't know how to find or collect them. It doesn't give me a guide. Poketoo, yeah, Poketoo. And then of course we have the bakery still that I'm the only one who's playing it, and I think Raven made one the other day. Quazzle, thank you for the quazzle. Oh yeah, I really like your stream diaries. That's a neat idea. I'm stealing it. Good, steal it. Update yourself. Update yourself? Upgrade yourself. I feel like it's really nice. It's kind of like, you know how people have mindful books or like gratitude books? It's kind of like that. And then I can look back on it and then know what I accomplished during the year. Love this emoji. I'm really feeling it. Yeah, that's my apple. No, scapple. Scapple! My scapple! I like it a lot. It's very... It's a good mood. It could be any kind of emotion you want. Kind of like shock, appalled, stancing, happy, evil. No, apples are very good for you. Did you know that? Oh my god, Gibbons, look at your collection. Gibbons, you have so many Pokemons. Entries 1 to 20 out of 1,365? Jeez Louise, you're loaded, huh? It's universal, but I'm allergic. Oh, that sucks. Apples are like... Did you know that apples have like a chemical in them? When you eat them, it like naturally cleans your teeth the more you chew on it. Like it reacts with your saliva. It's crazy. Aw, I can't scroll through your Pokemon. I like how you said Poketoo P. What is the origin of Nonoscapple? Somebody was doing fruit your character hears on Twitter. I believe you can find the person who did it in my credits. Which reminds me, I wanted to do something else. Oh, that's not gonna work. Okay. Yeah, they were doing it on Twitter, and I asked for one. They actually were having like a kind of like a collaboration or like a partner thing where like if you get the emote from one artist, this other artist would animate it, and you would get a discount if it was specifically the fruit emote. But then I missed my chance to ask for it, and so we didn't get a moving apple emote, which is sad, but I guess I could probably find them. I asked them. But yeah, no. Oh my god, I just realized I didn't change my book today. Hold on. Sunset Warrior Cats. I like it when it's not moving. You're right. I mean, like, we don't know what it would look like if it was moving, you know? But we do like it right now. Oh my god, look at the picture of this book. Holy camole. Is this what Hawkfrost looks like? Oh my god, he's so handsome. Whoa. Guys, look at Hawkfrost right now. Oh, it's a WebP file. Evil. Hulk Frost. Let's image book. Oh, it will work. Look, it's Hawkfrost. Oops. Wow, he's so handsome. That's one handsome cat if I've ever seen one. Who the heck is this cat? Whoa. Oh my god, this artist is insane. Insane! Now we have to switch to the one that it actually is, which is hilarious compared to this one. Save image as Hawk Frost 2. Browse. Look at Look at the difference in the depiction. They're both the same cat. They're both the same cat. Wow. This is the original one though, so we keep the original one for like, you know, nostalgia's sake. But we can admire him. Move it a little bit more. Oh, I don't want to move my audio source. I'm gonna move this one. You know, it always was hard for me to imagine. You like my tail? Thank you. I like my tail too. Look at Pokemon. Oh. Swishashi. Swishashi. Whoa, mythical ones. You have Jirachi. Cute. You have two Jirachis. You know, that doesn't make sense because there's only one Jirachi in the world. In the Pokemon world, that is. You'll give me one? Wow! You don't have to, but I would love it if you did. But after stream. So we got, let's get rid of handsome Hawkfrost. I used to think, with the name Hawkfrost, I would always imagine like kind of like a silver gray cat with blue eyes. But with this image, it's easier to imagine what he actually looks like. What's my fave legendary Pokemon? Oh. Fave, let's look at Pokemon legendaries. That should have been my question of the day. Legendary Pokemon. Let's see. I like the beasts. The beasties. I'm kind of fond of the Lake Guardians because of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. But, oh, I really like Cresselia. Very cute. And then I wasn't really around for these guys. Is Beast Killer supposed to be a legendary? Huh. Oh, I do like the doggies. From Legend of Galar. Zakine. I like that one has just holding a sword in his mouth. I think that's a really good design. And I do like the horses, even though I don't remember ever seeing them. Because I guess they were introduced in a DLC and I only played halfway through. No, probably like 1/3 of a DLC. Trade no? Oh. How do I do this? Oh. Request. I'm reading meow meows. Alright, let's quickly do this. I don't have anything to give you. I guess I have Bellsprout. I have Pikachu. No, I want Pikachu. How do I do this? I'm feeling lonely and I wish I was about to be a pony. Ooh, I really like Corridon. I like Corridon because he's so funny. With his like wheel chest and then he doesn't like, you know what? I think it was really smart of Scarlet and Violet to have you have the legendary Pokemon the whole way through, because I feel so much more emotionally attached to those legendary Pokemons than any of the other legendary Pokemons because I just didn't know them. I guess kind of Cosmog was existing in the same area, you know, like floating about, but that's it. I don't know anything about Cresselia except she appeared in Diamond and Pearl. Heatran is so funny because that's just a normal Pokemon. That's just a silly normal Pokemon. The Meow Meows. I don't know how to do this. TC. For free? Accept. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Wait. Accept. TC. Gibbons is master at Pokemon 2. I'm not sure it worked. Then you get them at the end of after the gym battles. They're just good friends. Oh. I feel like I'm I'm an old lady being told how to do things. I got a Jirachi, everybody! Yay! Okay, let's get back to streams. Let's get back to the meow meows that fight. Bertrand. Guys, when do you think the next Pokemon game is gonna come out? Sometime next year, huh? Do you think they're already building it? Probably. I hope that they do something similar with Corridon. What? You have an exact date? Oh, you're just... I thought you were... You're like 2025, the 6th month. I heard last game was very buggy. Yeah, it was pretty buggy when it came out. I have like screen caps of how it was like busting out. And when I started the game, I got stuck in a wall. It made great memes. Yeah! The thing about that game is like, I understand the frustration of a game being like not done, but you don't need to, I don't know, I felt like there was so much hate over Pokemon at the time, and like it was just fun to do. Like I just had fun playing it, and in the end, that's all that you really hope for, you know? Playing a game and have fun with it. Just gotta have some funs. Some little funsies. Alright, let's get rid of... I don't want to get rid of him, but because he's so handsome, but we gotta... I want to look at all the cats that this artist drew in the future. But I know that some of them are spoilers because he's drawn into the next series. People had a great time with the bugs. Yeah, exactly. It was fun. It was funny. And even though people... And when even... There was like half of the responses of those memes and those bugs were like people laughing and like thinking like, oh, this is the best like reaction gif, or like, oh, I want to see how I can break the game kind of stuff. And the other half was like, this sucks, I hate it, rah, 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 rah. How am I supposed to enjoy it? My immersion, you know? And yes, games should be polished if we're gonna be spending that much money on them. But if you're gonna be spending it anyways, and you have spent it, then maybe try to enjoy it a little bit, you know? People are so full of hate sometimes, and they just wanna scream about it. Like, I don't understand where it comes from. Where does all that rage come from? How are you so full of it? Can't even fathom it. All right, bye, Hawkfrost. I love you. Mwah. All right. Today, we're starting the final book in the 2nd series of Warrior Cats. Warriors, the New Prophecy, Sunset. Is it the New Prophecy? Or is the New Prophecy the first one? I can't remember. Oh, it is the New Prophecy. Ha! It says it right in front of my face. Okay. Oh, I just remembered something that happens in this book. I'm really excited for it. I hope it's true. Wait, last time we ended? Okay, so usually I don't do summaries at the beginning of books because the books summarize everything for you. But at the end of the last book, Stormfur and Brooke came back. They walked into the clan right after the Badgers had destroyed everything. And Cinderpelt's dead. Rest in peace, Cinderpelt. But Stormfur and Brooke came back. I don't know why. I want to know why. I forget why. Okay. Prologue. Let us begin. Let us begin. Wait, I need to get a little comfortable. Okay, I'm comfy. Night lay heavily on the forest. No wind stirred the long grass at the edge of the path where a massive tabby stalked through the shadows. He paused, ears pricked, amber eyes narrowed. No moons or star shone in the sky above his head, but the tree trunks thick with fungus shed an eerie glow on the bare earth beneath his paws. The huge Tom opened his jaws to draw in air, though he did not expect to taste the scent of prey. He knew that the twitching of the ferns meant nothing, and the flickering scraps of darkness that he could see from the corner of his eye would vanish like mist if he pounced on them. There was no hunger in this place, but he longed for the sensation of claws sinking into prey and the first warm bite of fresh kill after a successful hunt. The fur on his neck and shoulders rose as a new scent drifted towards him, the scent of a cat, but not the two he had met here before. This was a different cat, a cat he knew from long ago. He stalked forward, following the scent, until the trees thinned out and he stood at the edge of a clearing washed by sickly light. The other cat came bounding across the open space to meet him, ears flattened and eyes wild with terror. "Tiger Star!" he gasped, sliding to a halt and cowering to the ground. "Where did you come from? I thought I was alone here." "Get up, Darkstripe." The tabby Tom's voice was a rumble of disgust. "Stop cringing like a terrified kid." Darkstripe rose to his paws and gave his fur a couple of quick licks. Once sleek like a well-fed fish, his pelt was now thin and tangled with burrs. "I don't understand this place," he meowed. "Where are we? Where are StarClan?" "StarClan do not walk here." Darkstripe's eyes stretched wide. "Why not? Why is it always dark here? Where's the moon?" A shiver ran through him. "I thought we would be hunting across the sky with our warrior ancestors and watching over our clanmates." Tigerstar let out a faint hiss. "That way was not for us, but I don't need starlight to follow my path. If StarClan think they can forget about us, they're wrong." He turned his back on Darkstripe, shouldering his way up through the ferns without waiting to see whether the other cat followed him or not. "Wait," Darkstripe panted, scrambling after him. Tell me what you mean." The massive tabby glanced back, his amber eyes reflecting the pale light. Firestar thought he won when Scrooge took my... Firestar thought he won when Scrooge took my 9 lives. He is a fool. What lies between us is not over yet. "But what can you do to Firestar now?" Darkstripe protested. "You can't leave this forest. I know, I've tried. But however far I walk, the trees never end and there's no light anywhere." Tigerstar did not reply at once. He padded on through the undergrowth, with Darkstripe following close behind. The smaller cat started at every rustle among the ferns and every flickering shadow that fell across his path. Once he halted, eyes staring, jaws open to taste the air. "I can sense Broken Star," he exclaimed. "Is he here too? Broken Star, where are you?" Tigerstar stopped and looked back. "Save your breath. Broken Star won't answer you. You will sense traces of many cats here, but seldom will meet you face to face. We may be trapped in one place, but we are trapped alone." "Then how do you expect to deal with Firestar?" Darkstripe asked. "He doesn't even walk this forest." "I won't deal with him." Tigerstar's voice was a soft, threatening growl. "My sons will. Together, Hawkfrost and Brambleclaw will show Firestar that the battle is far from won." Darkstripe's gaze flickered to his former leader's face and away again. "But how can you make Hawkfrost and Brambleclaw do what you want?" Tigerstar silenced him with a single lash of his tail. His claws flexed in and out, scoring the earth beneath his paws. "I have learned to walk in the paths of their dreams," he hissed. "And I have time, all the time in the world. When they have destroyed that mangy kitty pet, I'll make them leaders of their clans and show them what true power is." Darkstripe flinched back into the shelter of a clump of bracken. "They couldn't have a better teacher," he meowed. They will learn the best fighting skills in the forest, Tiger Star went on, as if the other cat had not spoken. They will learn to have no mercy on any cat who tries to oppose them. And in the end, they will divide the entire territory around the lake between them. But there are 4 clans. And soon there will be only 2 clans of purebred warriors, not weakened by kitty pets and half-clan cats. Firestar has already taken that useless lump of fur from the horse place, and her whining kits. Is that any way to lead a clan? Darkstripe bowed his head, ears flattened in agreement. Hawkfrost is fearless, Tiger Star growled approvingly. He proved that when he drove a badger out of RiverClan's territory, and he showed great wisdom when he helped his sister become a medicine cat. Her support will smooth his path to leadership, and Hawkfrost knows that. He knows that power comes only to those who want it most. Yes, he truly is your son. The words spilled out of Darkstripe like rainwater from an unturned leaf. But if Tiger Star was unaware of any edge to them, he ignored it. As for Brambleclaw, Tiger Star narrowed his eyes. He has courage too, but he is troubled by his loyalty to that fool Firestar. He must learn to allow nothing, not his leader, not the warrior code, not StarClan themselves, to stand in his way. He earned the respect of every clan when he made the journey to the Sundrown place and led the clans to their new home. His reputation alone should make it easy for him to take control. He straightened, his powerful shoulder muscles rippling. I will show him how. I could help you, Darkstripe offered. Tiger Star turned on him with a look of cold contempt. I need no help. Did you not hear me say that every cat walks this dark forest alone? Darkstripe shivered. But it's so empty and silent. Tiger Star, let me come with you. No. There was a hint of regret in Tiger Star's voice, but no hesitation. Don't try to follow me. Cats have no friends or allies here. They must walk their path of shadows alone. Darkstripe sat up, curling his tail over his forepaws. Where are you going now? To meet my sons. He bounded away down the path, his fur gleaming in the pale yellowish light. Darkstripe was left behind, crouching in the shadow of the ferns. Before Tiger Star vanished into the trees, he glanced back to make one last promise. Firestar will learn that my time is not yet over. He may have 7 lives left to lose, but I will stalk him through my sons until every one of them is ripped from him. This is one battle that he will not win. Da 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 da. Gibbons, if you do that, you lose. I think you lose all of your money for your pop cub. I think you lose everything if you do that. Also, it's not very good for the stats. The stats. Danger. Okay. Gosh, I hope there's not another Tiger Star moment because, man, it's hard to voice his voice. And I know I had Darkstripe have like a very similar voice to him. And I couldn't do it with both of them in the same conversation because you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Chapter 1. Ooh, it's from Brambleclaw's POV. I guess Brambleclaw and Leaf Pools now? Brambleclaw stood in the middle of the clearing, gazing at what was left of the ThunderClan camp. A crescent moon, thin as a claw, drifted above the trees that surrounded the stone hollow. Its pale light revealed the dens trampled down, the thorn barrier at the camp entrance broken and tossed aside, and the wounded cats of ThunderClan slowly creeping from the shadows, their fur bristling and their eyes stretched wide with shock. Brambleclaw could still hear the trampling of the badgers as they lumbered away. The undergrowth beyond the entrance quivered where they had pushed through, driven off with the help of One Star and the WindClan warriors who had just come in time to help ThunderClan. But it wasn't the sight of devastation that pricked Brambleclaw's pelt and kept his paws frozen to the ground. 2 cats he had never thought he'd see again were picking their way carefully among the scattered thorns of the entrance barrier. They were uninjured, their pelts sleek and their eyes alight with alarm. Stormfur, what are you doing here? Brambleclaw called. The powerful gray tomcat pranced forward, until he could touch noses with Brambleclaw. "It's good to see you again," he meowed. I wanted to see if you'd found the place to live. But what has happened here?" "Badgers," Brambleclaw replied. He glanced around, wondering where to begin helping his wounded and frightened clanmates. Besides Stormfur, the slender brown tabby she-cat brushed her tail against a long scratch on Brambleclaw's shoulder. "You're hurt," she mewed. Brambleclaw twitched his ear. "It's nothing. Welcome to ThunderClan, Brook. I'm sorry you had to travel so far to find us like this." He paused and looked from one to the other. "Is everything all right in the tribe of Rushing Water? I never expected you to come visit us so soon." Stormfur shot a glance at Brook, so swift Brambleclaw almost missed it. "Everything's fine," he meowed. "We just wanted to make sure you had found a new place to live, like StarClan promised." Brambleclaw looked around the devastated camp, the stricken cats stumbling through the remains of their home. "Yes, we found it," he murmured. "You said badgers attacked you?" Brook prompted, sounding puzzled. "They came here on purpose," Brambleclaw explained. "StarClan knows where they came from. More badgers than I'd ever seen in my life. They would have killed us all if WindClan hadn't turned up." His paws trembled, and he sank his claws into the blood-stained earth to keep himself steady. Stormfur nodded. "Don't worry about telling us everything now. What can we do to help?" Brambleclaw sent a silent prayer of thanks to StarClan that they had chosen this moment to send his old friend back to the clans. He and Stormfur had been through a lot together on their first journey to the Sundrown place, and he could think of few cats he'd rather have beside him now. He turned his head as a thin wail came from a trampled clump of ferns at the edge of the hollow. "We need to find all the cats that have been badly wounded. Some will be on their way to join StarClan," he warned, glancing at Brook. "The badgers came to kill, not drive us out." Brook met his gaze steadily. "Whatever they have done, I want to help. I've seen this kind of savagery before from Sharptooth, remember?" Sharptooth was a giant mountain cat that had terrorized the tribe of Rushing Water for many moons, until the cats from the forest arrived. Stormfur's sister, Feathertail, had died in the fall that killed the savage animal. "We'll do whatever we have to," Stormfur promised. "Just tell us what to do. Are you ThunderClan's deputy now?" Brambleclaw studied a fragment of moss that was trapped under his front paw. "No," he admitted. "Firestar's decided not to appoint another deputy. He wants to give Greystripe more time to come back." "That's tough." "That's rough, buddy." There was a note of sympathy in Stormfur's voice that made Brambleclaw wince. He didn't want any cat's pity. Suddenly, Brook froze. "I thought you said the badgers had gone," she hissed. Brambleclaw whipped around, then relaxed as he saw a familiar, pointed black and white face push its way out from a clump of dead bracken. Stormfur touched Brook's shoulder lightly with his tail. "That's Midnight," he meowed. "She wouldn't hurt any cats." He bounded forward to meet the elderly badger. Midnight peered at Stormfur with short-sighted eyes. Then she gave a small nod. "Cat friend from Journey," she rumbled. "Good it is to see you again." "And this cat from Mountain Tribe, is she not?" she added, gesturing with her snout towards Brook. "That's right," Stormfur meowed. "This is Brook, a prey hunter from the tribe of Rushing Water." He beckoned Brook forward with his tail. She went over reluctantly, as if she couldn't quite believe this badger was friendly. Brambleclaw understood her feelings. He knew Midnight as well as any cat. But it was hard not to look at her bulky shape without remembering snapping jaws, fierce gleaming eyes, and claws that shredded cat's fur like leaves in new leaf. There was a sound of heavy paws, and he looked up to see Midnight standing beside him. Grief and anger sparked from her berry bright eyes. "Too late, my warning," she rasped. "Not enough I could do." "You brought WindClan to help us," Brambleclaw pointed out. "Without you, our whole clan would have been wiped out." Midnight bowed her head, the white stripe that ran the length of her snout gleaming in the faint moonlight. "Shame for my kin, I feel." "Every cat knows this attack had nothing to do with you," Brambleclaw told her. "You will always be welcome in this clan." Midnight still looked troubled. Behind her, Brambleclaw spotted his clan leader near the center of the clearing, with one star and the WindClan warriors. He padded forward towards them, motioning with his tail for Stormfur and Brook to follow. A fox length away, in the shelter of an upturned thorn bush, Leafpool was bending over the limp body of Ashfur. For a heartbeat, Brambleclaw wondered if the Grey Warrior was dead, until he saw Ashfur's tail twitch. StarClan shall not take all our warriors tonight, he thought determinedly. Firestar's chest still heaved from the effort of fighting. His flame-colored pelt was torn and blood was oozing from a long scratch along his flank. Brambleclaw felt a flash of concern. Had his leader lost another life? Whether he had or not, he was badly hurt. I will help him until my last breath, Brambleclaw vowed. Together, we can bring the clan through this until we are even stronger than before. In spite of his injuries, Firestar's eyes were bright, and he sat up straight as he faced the Wind Clan leader, One Star. The thanks of all ThunderClan goes with you, he meowed. I doubt you'll have any more trouble with the Badgers, One Star replied. But I can leave a couple warriors behind to keep watch, if you like. No thanks. I don't think we need them. The warmth in Firestar's eyes revealed the long friendship between these two cats. Brambleclaw silently thanked StarClan that the tension between them, which everyone had felt since One Star became the Wind Clan leader, seemed to be over at last. Do your warriors need the help of our medicine cat before you go? The ThunderClan leader asked. If any of them are badly injured, they're welcome to stay here. Brambleclaw glanced across at Leafpool, who was still crouched beside Ashfur. When she heard Firestar, she raised her head and stared across the clearing at the Wind Clan warriors. Brambleclaw felt a stab of sympathy as her gaze sought out one in particular. 2 days ago, Crowfeather and Leafpool had abandoned their clans so that they could be together, but news of the Badger attack had brought them home again. Brambleclaw hoped that Leafpool had come home for good. The ThunderClan needed her more than ever now that so many cats had been wounded in the Badger attack. Do they know Cinderpelt's dead? Crowfeather was staring down at his paws as if he was deliberately avoiding Leafpool's gaze. Fur was missing from a broad scratch on his flank, but the wound had stopped bleeding and he stood with his weight on all 4 paws. Webfoot had a torn ear, and the Wind Clan deputy Ashfoot was bleeding from one shoulder, but none of the wounds looked serious enough to stop the warriors from returning to their Wind Clan camp. I think we're all fit to travel. Thanks, StarClan. One Star answered, the ThunderClan leader. If you're sure you don't need our help anymore, we'll return to our own territory now. Crowfeather raised his head and shot one despairing glance at Leafpool. She scrambled to her paws, leaving Ashfur, and padded across to meet the Wind Clan warrior. They stood a little way from the other cats, their heads close together. Standing in the shadows, Brambleclaw couldn't help overhearing, but he didn't want to disturb them by moving. Goodbye, Crowfeather, Leafpool murmured, sounding choked with pain. We'd better not see each other again. Crowfeather's eyes flashed, and for a heartbeat, Brambleclaw thought he was going to protest. Then he shook his head. You're right, he meowed. It would have never worked. I will never mean anything to you. Or I will never mean enough to you. You mean something to him, Crowfeather. Sorry about that. Leafpool sank her claws into the ground. You mean more to me than you will ever know. The tip of Crowfeather's black tail twitched. You're a medicine cat. I understand what that means now. StarClan go with you, Leafpool. I'll never forget you. He and Leafpool touched noses, a delicate contact that lasted less than a heartbeat. Then Crowfeather turned back to his clanmates. Leafpool watched him go, her eyes clouded with loss. Webfoot gave Crowfeather a dark look, and Weaselfur pointedly turned his back on him. But One Star said nothing, only gathering all his warriors together with a sweep of his tail before leading them out of the camp. Thank you again, Firestar called after them. May StarClan light your path. Leafpool stood motionless until Crowfeather's gray-black figure had vanished into the shadow of the trees, then padded across the clearing towards Cinderpelt's den. On the way, she flicked her tail to summon Brightheart, who had helped Cinderpelt with medicine cat duties in the past. Hi, Pikyo! Are you sure? Brightheart asked hesitantly. Of course I'm sure. Leafpool's voice was ragged with exhaustion and grief. Every cat in this clan is wounded. I'll be glad of your skills. Brightheart's eyes gleamed, and she seemed to shake off some of her own weariness as she followed Leafpool to her den. Is that Stormfur and Brook? Is that Stormfur and Brook? Brambleclaw jumped as a hoarse voice spoke in his ear. Squirrelflight had appeared beside him. Her dark ginger fur was matted with blood and the tip of one ear was torn. Can't you see that? Can't you see that it is? Brambleclaw replied, realizing too late how abrupt he sounded. Sorry, he began. Squirrelflight took a pace forward so that her pelt brushed his. She touched the tip of her tail to his mouth to silence him. Stupid furball, she whispered. Brambleclaw tensed, wondering if he was imagining the affection in her green gaze. Glancing past her, he saw Ashfur glaring at him with narrowed eyes. Squirrelflight didn't notice Ashfur. She limped past Brambleclaw to touch noses with the visitors. Thanks, StarClan, you've come, she meowed, echoing Brambleclaw's thoughts. We need all our friends right now. Brambleclaw felt his shoulders droop in exhaustion just thinking about how much had to be done. Injuries to treat, dens to rebuild, fresh kill to gather. We'll speak to Firestar and then get started. As they approached the clan leader, Thornclaw staggered up to them. Blood trickled from a deep gash above one eye. Stormfur, he muttered, shaking his head in confusion. No, it can't be. The golden-brown warrior slumped to the ground, where he lay panting. Squirrelflight rested her tail on his shoulder, urging him to lie still until his injuries could be treated. Brambleclaw led Stormfur and Brook up to Firestar. The clan leader's eyes stretched wide in surprise. Stormfur and Brook! What are you doing here? Good night. Thank you for stopping by. There'll be time to explain later, Stormfur meowed. For now, Firestar, put us to work. Firestar stared around the clearing as if he wasn't sure where to start. We should sort out the warrior's den so the cats who have been hurt most can get some sleep. But we need to get the entrance barrier back in place too. The whole camp was devastated, and few of the ThunderClan cats were in any shape to start rebuilding. Ashfur was slumped on the ground, bleeding from flank and foreleg, while Leafpool patted cobwebs onto his wounds. Cloudtail limped up to her, holding one forepaw off of the ground. Blood trickled from where a claw had been torn out. Hi, Stormfur. He mewed as he passed. As if this had been such an extraordinary night, the sight of an old friend was no longer a surprise. Leafpool, can I have a piece of that cobweb? Sandstorm was close behind him, her head bent with exhaustion and her tail dragging in the dust. She stopped dead when she spotted Leafpool, then swung around to face Firestar, her green eyes questioning. Leafpool's here? She meowed. What happened? Firestar shook his head to silence her. We'll talk to her later, he promised. For now, she's home, and that's all that matters. Firestar! A yowl came from across the clearing. Firestar! Have those crow food eaters gone? Brambleclaw turned to see the three elders, Mousefur, Goldenflower, and Longtail. In the darkness, they had to pick their way carefully down the tumble of rocks that led to the ledge where Firestar had his den. They had taken shelter there while the battle raged below. It was Mousefur who had called out. She had lost some fur from one shoulder. Longtail's tail was bleeding, and Goldenflower had a deep scratch down one side. She was guiding Longtail with her tail across the shoulder. Are you all right? Brambleclaw asked, going to meet them. Fine, Mousefur growled. Badger tried to climb up the high ledge, but we sent it back down to the rocks faster than it intended. What if they come back? What if they come back? Goldenflower sounded distraught. They better not. Longtail flexed his claws, and Brambleclaw saw dark tufts of badger fur caught in them. I don't need to see to fight badgers. I can find them by their disgusting scent. Better let Leafpool look at those scratches. Firestar meowed. Leafpool? Mousefur's voice was sharp as she swung around to stare at the medicine cat. She's back, is she? For good, or until that WindClan warrior starts sniffing about again? Brambleclaw bit back a sharp retort. He knew Mousefur sounded so harsh only because she was shocked and hurt. And who's this? Mousefur padded up to Stormfur and examined him with narrow eyes. Stormfur? What's he doing here? Just paying a visit. Stormfur sounded uncomfortable at the brown elder's suspicious tone. Mousefur grunted, as if she wasn't completely convinced that Stormfur was a friend. You were a RiverClan warrior before you left us. Why are you here and not over there? Mousefur, don't be so ungrateful. Squirrelflight meowed indignantly. We need every cat who's prepared to help. Besides, Stormfur's half ThunderClan, remember? Stormfur's father was Greystripe, the ThunderClan deputy who had been captured by Two Legs before the cats left the forest. Mousefur bristled at Squirrelflight, but before she could reply, she was interrupted by a cry from Ferncloud. Racing through the broken thorns that were strewn across the entrance to the hollow. Dustpelt, where are you? Brambleclaw bounded over to her as she stopped just inside the entrance, gazing around the dark camp and yowling her mate's name. Brambleclaw, have you seen Dustpelt? She demanded. No, not yet, he admitted. Come on, and I'll help you look. I should have stayed with him, Ferncloud wailed. I never should have left the camp. But Daisy needed you, Brambleclaw reminded her. She couldn't have coped without a warrior to look after her, and it was much safer for you both to stay hidden outside the ThunderClan camp. Remember, Daisy hasn't been in the clan for long, and she can't fight well enough to defend herself and the kits. Ferncloud shook her head distractedly. Dustpelt can't be dead, she mewed. We'll find him, Brambleclaw promised. High hands! Silently, he hoped StarClan had not chosen this warrior to join their ranks tonight. He began to search, padding back and forth among the scattered remains of the entrance barrier, gradually working his way back towards the entrance of the camp. His breath caught in his throat when he picked up Dustpelt's scent and almost stumbled over a heap of tabby fur lying in the shadows of the rock wall. Dustpelt's eyes were closed, but as Brambleclaw stared at him, his ears twitched and he let out a sneeze. Ferncloud, over here! Brambleclaw called. Dustpelt! Dustpelt! At the sound of his mate's voice, Dustpelt opened his eyes and started to straggle to his paws. Ferncloud bounded up to him, brushing her pelt against his and covering him with licks. Dustpelt let out an unsteady purr. Aww! Brambleclaw decided that if Dustpelt could stand up, he could wait a while before Cinderpelt or Leafpool saw him. Ho! They don't know. He was headed back into the clearing, anxious to start working on the wrecked camp, when he saw that Birchpaw had followed Ferncloud into the hollow. The young apprentice had lost almost all the fur from his haunches, and one eye was closed. With his good eye, he darted nervous glances from side to side, as if he still expected the camp to be full of invading badgers. Beside him, Daisy, the cat from the horse place, picked her way through the thorns, and her 3 kits scrambled after her. They stared with huge eyes at the devastated dens and the weary, wounded cats. Spotting Midnight standing in the shadows, Barricade drew back his lips in a snarl. He took a pace forward, his legs stiff and his fur bristling. Oh, so cute! With a squeak of alarm, Daisy rushed to his side. Barricade, what are you doing? Come away before the badger hurts you. Nothing to fear, small one, Midnight rumbled gently. Daisy just glared at her, sweeping her tail around Barricade and drawing him away towards the other cats. Brambleclaw realized she had no idea who Midnight was. It's all right, he called. Leafpool reached the horse-place cat before him. Don't worry, Daisy, she meowed. Midnight's a friend. Crowfeather and I met her when we were up in the hills. She warned us that her kin were going to attack, and she brought WindClan to help us. But she's a badger, Daisy exclaimed. Brambleclaw padded over to help Leafpool explain. We met Midnight on our journey to the Sundrown place. She wouldn't harm us. There's nothing to be scared of, Barricade assured his mother. I'll look after you. I bet you would, too. Cloudtail limped up and gently flicked Barricade's ear with the tip of his tail. It takes enough courage for a full-grown cat to face up to a badger. You'll make a great warrior one day. Barricade's tail went straight up with pride. Race you to the nursery, he yowled to his littermates. No, wait! Cloudtail called after the 3 kits. You can't go in there yet. Why not? Why not? Daisy asked, puzzled. My kids need to rest. Cinderpelt's body's in there. Leafpool mewed quietly. A badger broke in while she was helping Sorreltail give birth. Her voice quavered, and she swallowed hard. I tried to save her, but she was already on her way to StarClan. Brambleclaw stared at her in disbelief. Cinderpelt was dead? I fell! Chapter 2. Smork. Dang, so the badgers are the baddies? Yeah, the badgers messed them up. Except for Midnight. Midnight is a A good badger. A cat badger, if you will. But they're gone now. Chapter 2. They're finding out Cinderpelt's dead. Oh, I'm worried about how Firestar's gonna react. That was his first apprentice. Ooh. Brambleclaw felt as if every drop of his blood had turned to ice. It was bad enough that any warrior have gone to join StarClan tonight, but losing the clan's medicine cat was a cruel blow. He suddenly realized why Leafpool had asked Brightheart to help her treat the injured warriors. Mousefur let out a shocked yowl. She was only a young cat. She had her whole life ahead of her. Squirrelflight patted up and brushed her muzzle against Leafpool's shoulder. We won't forget her, she murmured. Brambleclaw nodded, too shocked to speak. Leafpool stood with her head bowed, they miswrote that, for a heartbeat, then nudged Thornclaw to his paws. Come to my den. My den. My den. Her voice sounded thin, as if she was keeping it tightly under control. I have more cobwebs there. She patted away, glancing back just once to be sure Thornclaw was following. Movement in the darkness at the edge of the hollow caught Brambleclaw's eyes, and he turned to see Spiderleg and Whitepaw headed slowly towards them. Spiderleg beckoned with his tail. Brambleclaw had to force his numbed legs into action. What is it? He asked. Come and see. Spiderleg led the way to the wall of the hollow. Thank you, Claire! Claire! Oh my god, it's been so long. How are you? Wait, I can't do this. I have to keep reading. Thank you so much for the raid. I'll comment after if you're still here. Okay? Come and see. Spiderleg led the way to the wall of the hollow, near the escape route where Daisy and her kits had climbed to safely. A limp bundle of gray fur lay in the shadows. It's Sootfur, Whitepaw whispered. I think he's dead. I already added Sootfur, right? Yeah. I bet you did. I feel like I knew that. Claire, you've been here since I started, right? You were around when I was reading it when I first started. Brambleclaw's belly twisted. Even though he was afraid that Whitepaw was right, he nosed the young warrior's body in the faint hope of rousing him. Sootfur didn't move, and his glazed eyes stared at nothing. May StarClan light his path, Brambleclaw murmured. Sootfur's sister, Sorreltail, had only just given birth. Oh my god. How would she cope with the loss of her brother? Oh my god, I forgot they were siblings. Both the younger cats were staring at Brambleclaw as if they were waiting for him to tell them what to do. With a massive effort, he forced himself to think. Carry him to the center of camp, so we can have a vigil, he meowed. I'll go and look for Rainwhisker. Sootfur's brother would have to be told. Perhaps he could help his sister, Sorreltail. Brambleclaw waited until Spiderleg and Whitepaw had lifted Sootfur's body and began to search. He couldn't remember seeing Rainwhisker since the end of the battle. Anxiety sank sharp claws into him. Surely Rainwhisker couldn't be dead too. Then he spotted the gray warrior half buried under the torn up thorn branches that had once sheltered the warrior's den. He lay without moving, but as Brambleclaw dragged a branch off him, he managed to lift his head. The badgers, have they gone? He asked hoarsely. It's all over, Brambleclaw replied, but I'm afraid there's sad news. Can you get up? With a grunt, Rainwhisker brought his paws under him and scrambled at the prickly twigs until he had held himself upright. He balanced precautiously on 3 legs. The fourth hung at an awkward angle, and Brambleclaw was afraid that it had been broken. Giving Rainwhisker his shoulder for support, he guided him towards the center of the camp where Sootfur now lay. Firestar, Squirrelflight, and several other cats stood around him, their heads bowed. Rainwhisker let out a yowl of dismay at the sight of his brother's body. Limping forward, he bent his head to thrust his nose into the gray-black fur. He stayed still for a few heartbeats, then looked up, his eyes filled with grief. I should tell Sorreltail, he meowed. Firestar twitched his tail to stop him. Your leg needs to be seen first. Some other cat... No! Rainwhisker interrupted stubbornly. Let me do it. Sutfer was our brother. She will want to hear it from me. The clan leader hesitated, then nodded. Okay. But go to see Cinderpelt as soon as you can. Hi! Firestar, you mean Leafpool, Sandstrom gently corrected him. Firestar blinked, stupefied by shock and exhaustion. Sorry, he murmured. I still can't believe Cinderpelt's dead. Wait, when did he find out? I wanted to see his reaction. The heck? Also, hi, Judgment. Sorry, I'm trying not to talk while I read the chapters, but I'll say hi more between the chapters. I mean, when I get to a chapter end. Yeah. Brambleclaw gazed at him sympathetically. The ThunderClan leader had been very close to Cinderpelt. He was sure to be shaken badly by her death. He's gonna need my help. Brambleclaw braced himself. Touching Squirrelflight on the shoulder with his tail, he murmured, Let's go and bring Cinderpelt's body into the clearing. Right. Squirrelflight mewed. Rainwhisker, come with me. Rainwhisker, come with us if you want to speak to Sorreltail. The three cats made their way to the nursery. The bramble thicket, growing close to the wall of the hollow, was the least damaged part of the camp. Squirrelflight, Ashfur, and Brakenfur had stayed there throughout the battle, defending the entrance while Sorreltail's kits were born. Only part of it had been trampled down by the badger that killed Cinderpelt, had swatted Brakenfur aside to break it. Daisy and her kits were standing outside the entrance. Cloudtail and Ferncloud were with them, and Birchpaw, who lay splayed on the ground beside his mother. For a dreadful instant, Brambleclaw thought the apprentice had died of his wounds, until he saw the rapid rise and fall of his chest. Ferncloud crouched over him, gently licking his shoulder. Leafpool and Brightheart approached at the same time. Leafpool was carrying a wrap of herbs in her jaws, which she set down as Brambleclaw came up. Thanks, Darkland, Cinderpelt's den was too small for the badgers to get in, she meowed. All her herbs and berries are still intact. Her voice shook as she added, Please, can we move her body so the clan can sit vigil for her? We've come to do that, Brambleclaw told her. Leafpaw blinked gratefully. Thank you, Brightheart. She went on, Please fetch some more marigold for Birchpaw. Then tell all the cats who are able to walk to go to my den. It'll be easier to treat them there. And let me know if there's any cat who can't manage it. I'll need to see them first. Brightheart gave a brisk nod and left. Leafpool led the way into the nursery, followed closely by Brambleclaw, Squirrelflight, and Rainwhisker. Hardly any moonlight penetrated through the brambles, making it shadowy as a cave inside, and Brambleclaw winced as he stepped on a thorny tendril. He could just make out Cinderpelt lying on her side in a nest of soft moss. Her tail was curled over her nose, and she looked as if she were asleep. Brambleclaw padded up to her. Cinderpelt? For a heartbeat, he thought she might raise her head and answer him, but when he touched his nose to her fur, it felt deathly cold. Sorreltail was lying on the other side of the dead medicine cat, in the furthest corner of the nursery. Her body was curled away from Cinderpelt's body, sheltering her kits. Her mate, Brakenfur, crouched beside her, his fur bristling. As the other cats entered, he bared his teeth in a snarl. It's all right, Brakenfur, Brambleclaw meowed. It's only us. There's nothing to be afraid of. Brakenfur relaxed, though he still looked wary, and shifted even closer to Sorreltail. Leafpool squeezed past Brambleclaw and began nosing carefully over the young tortoiseshell. Brambleclaw blinked, waiting for his eyes to get used to the gloom until he could see Sorreltail's 4 kits burrowing rapidly into her fur. Sorreltail was gazing up at Leafpool, her eyes blank with shock. Rainwhisker edged up beside Brambleclaw. What can I say to her? He whispered. She suffered enough already. Knowing about Sutfer could kill her. Not when she has Brakenfur and Leafpool to look after her, Brambleclaw reassured him. Come on. It's better for her to hear it from you than some other cat. Rainwhisker nodded, though he still looked uncertain. Sorreltail? He began, gently nuzzling his sister's shoulder. Rainwhisker, is that you? Sorreltail mewed, twisting her head around to look at him. Are you hurt? I'll be okay, Rainwhisker replied, but I've got some bad news. It's Sutfer. He's dead. Sorreltail stared at him for a couple heartbeats, as if she couldn't understand. Then she tipped her head back and let out a high-pitched wail. No! Oh no! Her body twisted in a spasm of grief. Brahmaclaw heard a faint mewling of protest from the kits as they were dislodged from her belly. Sorreltail, it's all right, Breakenfur mewed. He pressed himself to her side, covering her face and ears with licks until she shuddered and buried her head into his shoulder. Sorreltail, I'm here, he went on. Think of the kits. You have to take care of them. How did he die? Sorreltail's voice trembled, but she shifted until her kits were tucked once more into the curve of her body. The baby scrambled back into place and kept suckling, pressing into her belly with soft, tiny paws. The badgers killed him, Rainwhisker told him. Sutfur was a brave warrior. Brahmaclaw meowed. He's safe with StarClan now. Sorreltail nodded and reached out to give Rainwhisker a comforting lick. Thank you for telling me. Leafpool nudged her leaf wad closer to the young tortoiseshell. That's borage, she meowed. It will help your supply of milk. She hesitated and then added, If you can't sleep, I'll get you some poppy seeds, but it would be better for the kits if you can manage without them. It's all right. I can do without it. Sorreltail bent over and chewed up the borage, wincing at the taste but swallowing it until it was all gone. Breakenfur, can you find some fresh kill for her? Leafpool suggested. As for you, Rainwhisker, you better stay right here while I have a look at that leg. Breakenfur touched his nose to Sorreltail's ear, promised, I'll be right back, and slipped out of the nursery past Cinderpelt's body. Sorreltail's gaze followed him. It's my fault Cinderpelt's died. Her voice was rasped with grief. She could have escaped the badger, but she stayed to help me. It's not your fault. Leafpool sounded unusually fierce, and Brahmaclaw glanced at her in surprise. Cinderpelt was doing her duty as a medicine cat. That was the choice she made. That's true, meowed Squirrelflight. Sorreltail, just think, if Cinderpelt had left you, the badger might have killed you too, and your kits. You wouldn't want that, and neither would she. Sorreltail shook her head, shuddering. They're beautiful kits, Brahmaclaw said, trying to distract her. He got a good look at the newest members of ThunderClan for the first time. Have you given them names yet? Sorreltail nodded. This one's Mole Kit. She touched the biggest kit's head with the tip of her tail. He's the only Tom. Then this is Honey Kit and Poppy Kit. She touched in turn a pale, bracken-colored tabby and tortoiseshell and white kit, who looked like a tiny copy of Sorreltail. And this is Cinder Kit. Oh, she named her after Cinderpelt! Brahmaclaw heard a gasp from Squirrelflight. The fluffy gray kit looked hauntingly familiar, and he couldn't help casting a rapid glance at the body of Cinderpelt behind him. Leafpool bent over Rainwhisker's injured leg, froze for a heartbeat. I think Cinderpelt would like that, she mewed softly, then carried on with what she was doing. They all look strong and healthy, Brahmaclaw meowed. Come on, Squirrelflight. We have a job to do for Cinderpelt now. Squirrelflight paused and touched Leafpool lightly on the shoulder with the tip of her tail. You should get some rest soon, she mewed. You look awful. I don't have time to rest, Leafpool responded, not looking at her. What are all these wounded cats going to do if I take a nap? Squirrelflight's gaze was troubled. But I'm worried about you. I can feel how tough it is for you right now. This time Leafpool didn't reply. Brahmaclaw could see that she just wanted to be left alone to take care of Rainwhisker. He nudged Squirrelflight's shoulder. Come on, he repeated, lowering his voice to add, give her a bit of space. She can cope. She just needs time. Squirrelflight still looked uncertain, but she turned around in the tight space and helped Brahmaclaw carry Cinderpelt's limp body out of the nursery. Daisy and the kits were still huddled by the entrance with Cloudtail and Ferncloud. Brightheart had brought the marigold and was treating Birchpaw's wound. You can't leave, Cloudtail was protesting. You and the kits belong here. Daisy shook her head, her gaze falling on the dead medicine cat. My kids could have been killed, she mewed, or I could have died. And then what would happen to them? They'll be safer back at the horse place. Oh. All three of her kits let out meows of protest. But what about the two legs? Cloudtail pressed. You came here in the first place because you were afraid they would take your kits away from you. Daisy flexed her claws, her eyes clouded with indecision. Before she could speak, Brightheart meowed. The kits might be safe from two legs by now. After all, they're nearly old enough to make themselves useful, catching rats and mice in the barn. But we don't want to go back there, Bearkit wailed. We want to stay here. Daisy flicked him with her tail. You don't know what you're talking about. Do you want a badger to come and get you? But none of you are hurt, Squirrelflight pointed out. The clan made sure you were safe. Please stay, Ferncloud urged. Life will be much easier now that New Leaf is here. Daisy gave her a doubtful look. Can you promise me the badgers won't come back? No cat can promise you that, Cloudtail replied, but I'll bet we won't be seeing any of them for a good long time. Daisy shook her head and pushed her kits in front of her into the nursery. Come along. You need rest after such a dreadful night. Well, we're not tired, Mousekit complained. Daisy didn't reply. She cast one more glance back at Cloudtail, full of fear and uncertainty, before she vanished. Ferncloud followed her. I'll just see her settled. Daisy could be right, you know, Brightheart meowed without looking at Cloudtail. She knows what's best for her kits, and maybe they would feel safer back at the horse place. Cloudtail opened his mouth to protest, then closed it again. You better go get over there to Leafpool's den, Brightheart told him, as if she didn't want to talk about the horse place cat anymore. She doesn't. That torn claw is bleeding again. You need more cobwebs. Cloudtail glanced at the nursery entrance and muttered, Right, I'll be off then. The tension between them is intense. Brambleclaw turned back to Cinderpelt, his heart twisting with grief as he gazed at the sleek gray body. The blue eyes glazed and empty. Squirrelflight stood beside him with her head bowed. Brambleclaw saw a shiver pass through her, and he pressed himself against her side, hoping she wouldn't pull away. When she didn't move, he stood for a moment with his eyes closed, breathing in her sweet, familiar scent. Come on, he mewed softly. The night will be over soon. It's time for her vigil. He and Squirrelflight picked up Cinderpelt's body again to carry her across the clearing and lay her beside Sootfur. Spiderleg and Whitepaw were crouching, with their noses pressed into the gray-black warrior's pelt. Goodbye, Brambleclaw murmured, touching his nose to Cinderpelt's fur. StarClan will honor you. We'll miss you, Squirrelflight added, and we'll never forget you. Brambleclaw would have liked to crouch beside the dead medicine cat and keep a proper vigil for her, but there was too much to do. He padded across to Firestar, who was still in the center of the camp with Stormfur, Brook, and Midnight. I think we should start in the warrior's den, he meowed. Midnight dipped her head to Firestar. I go now, she announced. My night is traveled well. But you must be as tired as the rest of us, Firestar protested. Stay until you've slept a while. Midnight's white striped head swung around, and she surveyed the shattered camp. No more here for me to do. I go back to Sea Cave. Hear beating of waves on shore, rustle of wind in grasses. ThunderClan would have been destroyed if you hadn't brought WindClan to help us. We can never thank you enough. No need is thanks. Too late warning come. My kin not here talk of peace. But why? Brooke asked, her eyes wide with distress. In the mountains, we never have trouble with the badgers. Are they like Sharptooth, wanting to kill cats for their prey? Midnight shook her head. My kin not eat cats, but cats drive them from territory. First from RiverClan on other side of lake, then from here. Revenge they want, and they take territory back. I remember Hawkfrost reporting that at the gathering, Firestar meowed. He was the RiverClan warrior who drove the badger out. Brambleclaw drew in a sharp breath, ready to defend his half-brother. Were his clanmates going to blame Hawkfrost for the badger attack? We drove a badger out of our territory, too, Squirrelflight pointed out, with their kids. And to think I felt sorry for her. I wonder if that means they'll come back, Firestar murmured thoughtfully. The patrols will have to keep a sharp lookout. I also, Midnight added. When we know anything, I come or send word. But now I go. Say farewell to cat friends. Goodbye, Midnight, mewed Stormfur. It was good to see you again. Midnight's small eyes rested on him for a moment. Spirits watch over you, she told Stormfur. StarClan and Tribe of Endless Hunting also. Hard the paths you walk, but not finished yet. The gray warrior dipped his head. Thank you, Midnight. I wish you didn't have to leave, Brambleclaw meowed to Midnight. With a glance at his clan leader, he added, Couldn't you make a set in the woods here and stay with us? Please, Squirrelflight urged. The old badger shook her head, her eyes deep with wisdom. This is not my place, she warned, but StarClan may lead us meet again. I hope so, meowed Brambleclaw. Then it's goodbye. Firestar lowered his head to Midnight in the deepest respect. ThunderClan will always honor you. He escorted her to the entrance, as if he didn't want her to see her go either. Dustpelt and Sandstorm, gathering up the thorns from the damaged entrance barrier, stopped work briefly to add their own farewells. With Squirrelflight and Stormfur beside him, Brambleclaw watched Midnight leave the hollow, her broad, flat paws tampering across the remains of the thorn barrier. For the second time now, ThunderClan had needed Midnight's help to survive. How could they be safe when she was so far away, at the Sundrown place? Brambleclaw wasn't even sure he could find that sandy cliff again. I must go on, he told himself. I'd give my last breath to help my clan, and ThunderClan needs me now more than ever before. Stormfur turned away from the dark forest where the badger had disappeared. Right, he meowed. What needs doing next? I think every cat has been accounted for, and Leafpool and Brightheart are taking care of the injuries, but we all need some rest to recover. Brambleclaw meowed. That means we need to sort out places to sleep and do something about fresh kill. Brooke and I will hunt for the clan in the morning, Stormfur promised. For now, I'll work on the warrior's den. Where is it? Good question, Brambleclaw thought. He pointed with his tail at the trampled thorn tree beneath the far wall of the hollow. Over there, he meowed. The branches had been dense and low-growing, providing good protection against the cold winds and rain of Leafbear, but the badgers had broken through the canopy to get at cats trying to shelter inside, and it didn't look much like a den now. Stormfur blinked. Okay, I'll get started. He bounded off in the direction Brambleclaw had pointed. Brooke, you can check on the elders, Squirrelflight suggested. Their den's under that twisted hazel over there. Come and find me if you need any help. Brooke nodded and bounded off into the shadows. Brambleclaw was about to follow Stormfur when Ashfur padded up. Are you gonna sit vigil for Sootfur and Cinderpelt? He asked Squirrelflight. You go ahead, Squirrelflight mewed. I want to help rebuild the dens right now, but I'll try to sit with them later. Cinderpelt and Sootfur would understand. Ashfur blinked at her with hurt in his blue eyes, as if he was taking her refusal personally. Okay, I'll see you later then. He padded off and settled down beside the other cats circled around the two still bodies. Squirrelflight flicked her tail lightly over Brambleclaw's ears. Don't you think you should go to Leafpool's den and get those scratches looked at? In spite of everything that had happened, the expression in Squirrelflight's eyes made something in Brambleclaw's heart purr like a kit. Not yet, he told her. Leafpool has enough to do, and there are plenty of cats hurt worse than me. I'll help Stormfur with the warrior's den. Every cat is exhausted, and it'll be dawn soon. Then I'll do something about the fresh kill. The pile must have been scattered, but the badgers wouldn't have time to eat our prey. I might be able to salvage enough to keep us going until we can send out a hunting patrol. If I find anything fit to eat, I'll bring you some. Thanks. Brambleclaw watched the ginger warrior as she padded across the clearing, then made his way to the remains of the warrior's den. Every muscle in his body was aching. The scratch on his shoulder throbbed, and he felt almost too tired to put one paw in front of the other. But his clanmates needed him. He had to find the strength to help them. The thorn tree where the warriors had made their den grew closer to the highest part of the cliff, not far from the tumble of rocks leading up to the high ledge. As he approached, Brambleclaw saw that although the outer branches were broken and trampled down, further in, towards the trunk, there seemed to be less damage. He hoped that there might be enough shelter left untouched, even if the warriors were a bit cramped until the tree put on fresh growth and new leaf. As he drew closer, sniffing cautiously at the wrecked outer branches, Stormfur appeared, holding a tangled mass of thorns behind him. Hi, he panted, setting the thorns down to catch his breath. Narrowing his eyes, he added, Shouldn't you be resting? You look very battered, you know. We're all battered, Brambleclaw pointed out. I can't rest now. There's too much to do. Stormfur's gaze traveled around the clearing. There certainly is. Brambleclaw rested his tail against Stormfur's gray flank. I'm glad to see you, he meowed. StarClan couldn't have chosen a better time to bring you here. Well, the tribe have ended this hunting watch over me now. Some ancestor sent you to us. I don't care whose. I'm just thankful. Squirrelflight trotted up just then, carrying a couple of mice by their tails. She dropped the fresh kill at their paws. There you are, she mewed to Brambleclaw. Eat. You need your strength. She patted the second mouse towards Stormfur. You too, Stormfur. No thanks. The Grey Warrior meowed. Brooke and I ate on the way here. I'm not hungry right now. Okay, if you're sure. I'll take it to the elders. I found plenty of fresh kill. she added to Brambleclaw. It's a bit trodden on, but it'll do until tomorrow. With a whisk of her tail, she picked up the spare mouse and headed for the Elder's den. While Stormfur went back inside the den, Brambleclaw crouched down to eat the mouse. It was flattened and covered with earth, as if a badger's huge paw had trampled it into the ground, but he was too hungry to care. He devoured it in a few famished gulps. Then he went to help Stormfur shift the damaged thorns. Blood began oozing again from the scratch on his shoulder as he struggled to drag the broken branches away from the rest. Thorns pricked at his paws and scraped against his side, adding fresh scratches to his pelt. As he was backing out of the den, tugging a particularly stubborn branch, Squirrelflight scent drifted around him. He dropped the end of the branch and turned to see her standing behind him with a dripping wad of moss. She set it down and meowed. I thought you might need a drink. Thanks. As he lapped water from the moss, he thought he had never tasted anything so delicious. It seemed to soak into every part of him, giving him new energy. When he had drunk as much as he wanted, Squirrelflight picked up the moss and gently dabbed it across against his shoulder wound. Her eyes met Brambleclaw's. He shivered at the closeness of her. Squirrelflight, I'm sorry for everything, he began. She swept her tail tip across his mouth. I know, she murmured. Brambleclaw thought he could have stood there like that forever, drowning in the depths of her green gaze. But a movement beyond her distracted him, and he looked up to see Ashfur staring at him. The Grey Warrior had left vigil for his dead clanmates and was crossing the clearing. After a few moments, he turned away and disappeared behind the brambles that screened the Medicine Cat's den. Brambleclaw stepped back and faced Squirrelflight. What about Ashfur? He meowed. He didn't need to say any more. Squirrelflight and Ashfur had become very close in recent moons, and the Grey Warrior might have good reason to feel that Brambleclaw was treating on his paws. Squirrelflight dropped the moss. Don't worry about Ashfur. I'll talk to him. There was regret in her eyes, but no uncertainty. Briefly, she touched her nose to Brambleclaw's. I have to fetch water for the elders now. I'll see you later. Dazed, Brambleclaw watched her go before starting to tug at the branch again. He could hardly believe how quickly everything had changed, and how little he and Squirrelflight had needed to say to each other. Their quarrels, the way they had deliberately tried to hurt each other, all that was gone in the wake of the badger attack, now that they realized how much they cared about each other. They didn't even have to apologize. They could just look forward to all the moons ahead of them. As he finally yanked the branch free, Stormfur emerged from the den, pushing a tangle of moss and thorns in front of him. It's good to see you and Squirrelflight are still getting along so well, he meowed. Yeah, she's a terrific cat, Brambleclaw mumbled. He didn't want to tell Stormfur that the closeness he shared with Squirrelflight had melted away after a time. Why don't we take some of these thorns over to Sandstorm for the entrance barrier? Okay. Stormfur looked faintly amused, as if he could tell Brambleclaw was deliberately changing the subject away from Squirrelflight. You know, he added, I feel just the same way about Brooke. Spicy. He picked up the end of the long branch, but before they had gotten more than a couple of paces, Brambleclaw spotted the young tribe she-cat headed towards them with a huge bundle of moss in her jaws. The elders are going to be fine, she reported, after setting the burden down beside Brambleclaw. Leafpool has put cobwebs on moss for scratches and given them all a few poppy seeds to help them sleep. Squirrelflight has gone to fetch some water. Thank you for your help, Brooke, Brambleclaw meowed, nodding at the ball of moss. I took it out of the elder's den because it's full of thorns. No cat could sleep on that. Can you tell me the best place to find some more moss? Are you sure you're not too tired? Brambleclaw asked. You've traveled a long way. Brooke's ears twitched. I'm in better shape than you. Besides, we took it easy on the journey. It's been more than a moon since we left the tribe. Dang. We thought we would never find you. Stormfur meowed. How did you? Brambleclaw asked. He jumped at the flicker of movement behind him, but it was only Breakenfur, padding across the nursery with fresh kill in his jaws. Did the tribe of Endless Hunting show you the way? A glance flashed between Stormfur and Brooke. Suspicious. I wish they had, Stormfur replied. We might have gotten here sooner. We wandered around the hills until we came across a rogue who knew some cats who lived with horses. Do you know them? Oh, yeah, the Horseplace cats. Brambleclaw mewed. We met them. In fact, one of them is here now, with her kits. Stormfur looked surprised. Oh, well, this rogue said They told him a huge number of cats had moved into the area. We knew that had to be you, and the rogue told us which way to come. So you haven't been to RiverClan yet? Stormfur shook his head, but before he could say anything else, Brooke prodded Brambleclaw on the shoulder with one paw. Moss, your elders will be waiting. Oh, sure. Let's take these thorns over to the camp entrance and I'll show you. Brambleclaw and Stormfur dragged the branches across to where Sandstorm, Dustpelt, and Firestar were working on the barrier. Brooke followed with her bundle of moss. Over here. Brambleclaw pointed with his tail into the forest. His pelt prickled with horror as he remembered how the badger had come roaring out of the shadows with death in their eyes. Keep going straight on, and you'll find plenty of moss around the tree roots. I'll come with you, Brooke. Stormfur meowed. You never know where there might still be badgers around. I've posted guards, Firestar called across. It should be safe. He flicked his ears towards the top of the hollow, where Brambleclaw could just make out the shadowy shapes of Cloudtail and Thornclaw. Stormfur followed his gaze, then turned back to Brooke. I'm still coming with you. We need more moss for the warrior's den. He and Brooke headed into the forest. As Brambleclaw turned back into camp, he spotted Leafpool emerging from her den. When she reached Cinderpelt's body, she stopped, bowed her head, and rested her nose into her mentor's soft fur. Aw. Forgive me, Cinderpelt. Brambleclaw was just close enough to hear her murmured words. I want to sit vigil with you, but there's too much to do. I know you would want me to care for your clan. Leafpool lifted her head, seemed to brace herself, and patted on towards Brambleclaw. I want you in my den now, she meowed. Your wounds need treatment. But don't argue, Brambleclaw. Just do it. For a moment, Leafpool sounded as forceful as her sister, Squirrelflight. How much use will you be if your shoulder gets infected? Brambleclaw sighed. All right, I'm on my way. As the young medicine cat brushed past him, he rested the tip of his tail on her shoulder. Thanks, Leafpool. Thanks for coming back. ThunderClan needs you. Leafpool flashed him a glance filled with sorrow before padding on towards her father and mother by the camp entrance. Firestar, he heard her call. I haven't had a chance to look at your wounds yet. As Brambleclaw was approaching Leafpool's den, he spotted Ashfur emerging from behind the bramble screen. His torn ear was wrapped in cobwebs, and more of them were plastered along his flank and on his forelegs. Are you okay? Brambleclaw asked as Ashfur padded past him. Ashfur didn't look at him. Fine, thanks, he mewed curtly. Brambleclaw watched him cross the clearing to the nursery, where Breaking-Fur and Spiderleg were dragging out the broken bramble tendrils. Ashfur set to work beside them. Just outside the cleft in the rock wall where Leafpool had her den, Birchpaw was curled up asleep in a nest of bracken, one paw over his nose. Though he was only an apprentice, he had fought bravely in the battle and helped protect Daisy and her kits as they escaped from the hollow. The wounds on his haunches, where fur had been ripped away, were covered with a paulus of marigold. Brambleclaw's nostrils twitched at the sharp scent of the chewed-up herbs. On the other side of the cleft, Rainwhisker lay among more bracken. As Brambleclaw appeared around the screen of brambles, he raised his head and blinked drowsily. Hi, Brambleclaw. His voice sounded blurred with sleep. Is everything okay? It will be. How's your leg? Not broken, thanks, StarClan, just dislocated. He let out a sleepy purr. Leafpool put it back in place. His eyes closed again and he rested his nose on his paws. Brightheart emerged from the cleft in the rock with a mouthful of herbs. She nodded to Brambleclaw, then bent over Rainwhisker and Birchpaw to give each a quick sniff. They're doing fine, she meowed. Brambleclaw, when Leafpool comes back, tell her I've taken some marigold to Breaking-Fur. He's working on the nursery so he doesn't have to leave Sorreltail. Okay, Brambleclaw agreed. He sat down beside the two sleeping cats. Leafpool arrived a few moments later with Firestar following her. Carefully, she looked Brambleclaw over, then gave the deep scratch on his shoulder a lick. That's the only serious wound, she meowed. I want to take a look at it every day, okay? Wait there while I fetch you some marigold. She paused, staring into the distance for a couple of heartbeats before taking a deep breath and disappearing into the cleft. Will she be all right? Brambleclaw murmured to Firestar. No medicine cat is looking after her. I'll tell Squirrelflight to keep an eye on her. Leafpool came back with marigold leaves and began chewing them up for a paulus. Paulus? Pulse? Pulp? Paulus. We're down to the last scraps, she mewed, glancing up with the end of a leaf poking out of her jaws. Some cat will need to fetch more first thing tomorrow. I'll see to it, Firestar promised. Or, Bramaclaw, maybe you could organize that? Find a cat who isn't too badly hurt. Bramaclaw tipped his head. Okay, Firestar. Leaving the cleft in the rock, he spotted Stormfur beside the warrior's den, beckoning him with his tail. I think we're done for the night, the gray warrior meowed. We've shifted the worst of the thorns, and I've put down some fresh moss. It might be a bit cramped, but you can all get some rest now. What about you? Bramaclaw asked. Brooke and I are still fresh. We'll guard the camp for the rest of the night. Thanks. Suddenly, Bramaclaw felt his legs start to give way beneath him. The prospect of curling up to sleep made him realize just how exhausted he was. He touched Stormfur on the shoulder with his tail tip, then slid past him into the warrior's den. There was a clear space near the trunk of the tree, good enough for cats who were too tired to be fussy about where they slept. Spiderleg and Ashfur were already asleep. Just beyond them, Dustpelt and Ferncloud were drowsily sharing tongues. Bramaclaw muttered a greeting to them and sank down into the moss and bracken. A heartbeat later, sleep crashed over him like a black wave. Chapter 3! Oh my god, guys, I don't know what the heck is wrong, but my tongue aches. It it's so weird. Yeah. Oh, I know why. Oh, oof. Alright, no worries. I have something in my mouth that kind of like bugs it. So that was probably why. Okay, let's keep going. We're making really good progress. What the heck? I'm already halfway to 100 pages. I'm doing like tongue stretches. Nice. Okay, chapter 3. Leafpool opened her eyes, sticky with sleep, and blinked. She was crouched in the middle of the stone hollow beside Cinderpelt's body. Next to her, Firestar lay with his nose pushed deep into his friend's gray fur. His eyes narrowed to slits as if he were lost in the memories of the cat who had once been his apprentice. Above the hollow, the sky was a milky pale with the first light of dawn. Opening her jaws, Leafpool tried to draw in the last of her beloved mentor's scent, but all she could taste was death. Jesus Christ. She'd come to sit vigil with Cinderpelt after all the injured cats had been treated, but exhaustion had overwhelmed her and she had fallen asleep. I couldn't even stay awake for you, she thought despairingly. She would never forget the dream she had on her journey with Crowfeather, in which she had heard Cinderpelt's terrible cry of pain as the badger struck its killing blow. I should have stayed here, she told herself, guilt tearing at her sharper than a badger's claw. But even though she had come back to her clan, her thoughts were still haunted by Crowfeather. The glow in his amber eyes when he told her how much he loved her, the pain in his voice when he realized that her heart lay here as ThunderClan's medicine cat and not with him. Leafpool had been faced with the terrible choice, but in the end she knew her place was here, in the stone hollow. She had given up Crowfeather and had lost Cinderpelt too. All that remained was her duty to the clan. As she sat up, stretching cramped limbs, careful not to disturb her father at his vigil, she saw Stormfur keeping watch just outside the warrior's den. Brooke guarded the camp with him, sitting closer to the entrance. Other cats were beginning to stir now. Breakenfur put his head out of the nursery, then vanished back inside. A moment later, Bramaclaw and Dustpelt emerged from the warrior's den and stood tasting the air. Soon it would be time for the elders to carry the bodies of Cinderpelt and Sootfur out of the camp for the burial. Leafpool bent her head over Cinderpelt, touching her muzzle to her mentor's shoulder and brushing against her soft gray fur. She closed her eyes to try and sense Cinderpelt's spirit, but above her, the warriors of the StarClan were disappearing as the sky grew brighter. Cinderpelt, tell me you're still with me. Leafpool tried to imagine herself padding through the stars with silvery pelts brushing against her on either side, but she couldn't smell any trace of Cinderpelt's familiar scent. Had Cinderpelt rejected her because she left ThunderClan with Crowfeather? Would she never hear her mentor's voice again? Not even in her dreams? That's a bit of a spiral, Leafpool. Cinderpelt, I'm sorry, she cried. Don't leave me alone like this. I can manage. I don't need to be able to see to carry my clanmates. Longtail's voice interrupted Leafpool's desperate prayer. She opened her eyes to see the three elders approaching, Mousefur in the lead and Goldenflower guiding Longtail. Of course you don't, Mousefur agreed. We'll carry them together, don't worry. Firestar rose from Cinderpelt's side, his movements stiff from wounds and weariness. Whitepaw crept out of the remains of the apprentice den, glancing around nervously as if she wanted to make sure no more badger had appeared. Thornclaw, who had been Sootfur's mentor, padded up to him and pushed his nose one last time into the cold gray-black fur. You taught him well, Leafpool mewed softly, sharing his grief for the young warrior. He died bravely, fighting for his clanmates. Rainwhisker slid between the cats who were clustered around the bodies. Leafpool saw that he was able to put weight on his injured leg, though it would be a while yet before the torn muscles were fully healed. Take it easy, she warned him. You'll be limping permanently if you strain that leg. Rainwhisker nodded and spoke to Mousefur. I want to help, please. Sootfur was my brother. Mousefur dipped her head. Very well. She and Rainwhisker took up the body of Sootfur, while Goldenflower and Longtail carried Cinderpelt. With a retch of grief, Leafpool had to step back and let them take her mentor away. Her sister's scent drifted around her, and she felt the warmth of Squirrelflight's pelt against her side. Leafpool leaned against her shoulder, grateful for the comfort of her presence. The rest of the clan stood with bowed heads, and the elders made their way past the shattered thorn barrier into the trees beyond. Thank you, Marky Moo. Once they had disappeared, Firestar began to organize the patrols. Squirrelflight turned to Brambleclaw, and the two cats headed back towards the warrior's den, their flanks brushing. Leafpool's ears pricked. She had thought her sister and Brambleclaw weren't close anymore. She looked around for Ashfur and saw that he was watching too. She was shaken by the look of fury in his eyes. Whoop. Sudden fear for her sister swept through Leafpool like an icy wave. She recalled the dream where she had found herself wandering in a dark, unfamiliar forest with no sign of StarClan. There she had hidden at the edge of a clearing, watching while Tigerstar trained his sons, Brambleclaw and Hawkfrost, and urged them to seek power within their clans. Brambleclaw had a fearful inheritance, and Leafpool was not sure he was strong enough to resist his father's treacherous promptings. She could tell Squirrelflight should she tell Squirrelflight about the dream? She took a step towards her sister, then stopped. She had enough to do already, caring for the injured cats, and it was no part of a medicine cat's duties to interfere with the friendships of other cats. Besides, that had not been a dream from StarClan, so she couldn't be sure what it meant, or whether it was a warning about the future. She padded across to Ashfur. I need to check in your wounds, she meowed, especially that torn ear. Ashfur's eyes glittered with anger, still staring after Squirrelflight. Okay. He stood without flinching while Leafpool sniffed the wounds on his flank and foreleg, and gave his ear a careful examination. You're healing well, she told him. I'll give you some poppy seeds to help you sleep if you like. Ashfur shook his head. No thanks, I'll be fine. With the last glance across the clearing, he padded over to join Dustpelt and Spiderleg, who were rebuilding the thorn barrier. As Leafpool turned towards her den, she spotted Brightheart trotting rapidly across the stone hollow with her daughter, Whitepaw, just behind her. Leafpool, do you want me to grab herbs? She offered. Brambleclaw said I could take Whitepaw to help me. That would be great, Leafpool replied. She gave the apprentice a friendly nod. Whitepaw was looking nervous. She probably imagines the forest is crawling with badgers. Leafpool guessed. I don't blame her. No popcorns! Yeah. You just came by, right? One day you'll get them. We need marigold more than anything, she went on to Brightheart. You'll find plenty beside the stream. Brightheart nodded. I know a good place. Thanks Starclan, it's New Leaf. Leafpool felt a sudden flood of gratitude towards her clanmate. She winced with guilt when she remembered how she had been convinced that Brightheart was trying to take her place with Cinderpelt. It's a good thing Cinderpelt taught you so well, she meowed. I really need your help right now. Brightheart's good eye glowed with pleasure. Let's go, then. Come on, Whitepaw. With a flick of her tail, she bounded away to the camp entrance, the apprentice scurrying behind her. Leafpool padded back to her den. Bridgepaw roused from sleep as she brushed past the screen of brambles, struggled to stand up, then flopped back into his nest of bracken. Don't try to get up yet, Leafpool warned. I want to take a look at your eye. She was more worried about Birchpaw than any of the other cats. He was very young to have fought in such a fierce attack. He didn't have the strength of a full-grown cat to help him recover from serious wounds. The scratch around Birchpaw's eyes was red and puffy, only a faint gleam escaping past the swollen flesh. He was very lucky not to have lost the eye, Leafpaw thought privately, shuddering as she pictured a badger's blunt claws ripping at the apprentice's face. Slipping inside her den where her supplies were kept, Leafpool found the last 2 leaves of marigold. Thanks Starclan, Brightheart was fetching more. But when she tried to lay the pulp on Birchpaw's eye, he ducked away. Thank you for the hydrate! Hepasuto and Jarn and Mikarin. I know, and I'm sorry, but it'll hurt worse if the scratches get infected. Come on. Leafpool tried to encourage him. You're not a kid anymore. Birchpaw nodded. His whole body stiffened as he braced himself. Leafpool patted on more of the marigold pulp, and this time breathed a sigh of relief to see the healing juices trickle into his eye. Try to get some more sleep, she suggested, once she had checked the wounds on his haunches. Do you need the poppy seed? No, I'll be fine. Meowed Birchpaw, curling up again. Will you tell Ashford that I won't be able to train today? Sure. I don't think he was expecting you to train today, Birchpaw. Oh my god. Good night. Sleep well. Your eyes? What's wrong with my tail? She waited until Birchpaw was asleep again, then set off for the nursery with more borage for Sorreltail. On her way, she spotted Stormfur and Brooke, returning to camp with jaws full of fresh kill, and realized how hungry she was. She could hardly remember the last time she had eaten. It must have been before her desperate dash back from the hills with Crowfeather to warn her clan. She made her way over to Stormfur and Brooke, whose small fresh kill pile was already there, showing how hard the visitors had been working that morning. Hi, Brooke meowed. I was gonna bring some fresh kill to your den. No need. Thanks. I'll eat it here. Leafpool replied, after setting down the borage. If you're sure there's enough, have Sorreltail and the elders had some? I'm seeing to them now, Stormfur mewed. You take what you want, Leafpool. There's plenty of prey, and Sandstorm and Cloudtail are out hunting as well. He grabbed a couple of mice and headed for the nursery. Brooke took more fresh kill for the elders, while Leafpool chose a vole for herself. As she crouched to eat it, Spiderleg and Ashfur came over. Spiderleg shot Leafpool a swift glance, dipping his head awkwardly. It's good to have you back, he muttered. Leafpool felt as embarrassed as he looked. She didn't want to talk to any cat about why she had left the clan. It's good to be back, she told him. It was a relief to turn to Ashfur and give him Birchpaw's message. Oh my god, the laundry's going insane outside. It'll be a few days yet before he's fit to start training again, she finished. Ashfur nodded. I'll come and see him later, he promised. Leafpool ate her vole in a few rapid bites, then headed for the nursery to visit Sorreltail. The sun had cleared the trees at the top of the hollow, shining down from a blue sky dotted with a few white puffs of cloud. Leafpool was grateful for the warmth on her fur. The injured cats would be able to bask in the open while their nests were cleaned out. The damaged brambles had been dragged out from the nursery the night before, leaving a few ragged holes where the sun shone in. Daisy's 3 kits were playing around her, pouncing on the bright spots of light.
Take that, you horrible badger!
Berrykit squealed.
Get out of our camp!
Hazelkit growled, while Mosskit spat and showed his teeth. That's enough. Daisy swept her tail around the 3 kits, drawing them closer to her. If you want to play rough games, you must go inside. You're disturbing Sorreltail. Remember how tiny her kits are. Go outside.
Yeah, we're not the youngest anymore,
Berrykit boasted.
We'll be apprentices soon.
Daisy didn't reply, but Leafpool thought she saw uncertainty in the horseplace's cat's eyes. Berrykit's head popped up from behind Daisy's protective tail.
Hi, Leafpool,
he meowed.
Where have you been? We missed you. Is your friend from WindClan gonna stay with us?
Shh, Daisy mewed, giving Berrykit's ear a flick with her tail. Don't bother Leafpool now. Can't you see she's busy? Leafpool dipped her head gratefully to Daisy, her mouth full of borage, giving her the perfect excuse not to answer. She slid further into the nursery to find Sorreltail. The young tortoiseshell was curled up in a deep nest of moss and bracken, her 4 kits burrowing close to her belly. Brakenfur was beside her while the 2 cats finished off the fresh kill Stormfur had brought them. Hi, Leafpool. Sorreltail blinked drowsily. Is that more borage? That's right. Sorry, that's right. Leafpool put the leaves down where her friend could reach them. You need to make sure you have plenty of milk. With 4 kits to feed. They're worse than famished foxes. Brakenfur purred, beaming proudly at his offspring. Leafpool was glad to see he was calmer now, beginning to recover from the shock of the attack, so that he could care for his mate and kits. They're fine, healthy kits, mewed Leafpool. Just what the clan needs. As she watched Sorreltail chew up the borage, she remembered the adventures of the 2 of them had shared in the old forest when she was still an apprentice and Sorreltail was a carefree young warrior. They could never be as close as that again. Now Sorreltail was a mother, while Leafpool was ThunderClan's medicine cat. When she left with Crowfeather, she had briefly glimpsed what it would be like to turn her back on her duties, but her heart had brought her back to her clan. Leafpool felt distance yawning between her and Crowfeather like a mountain gorge. Pain twisted inside her, but she pushed it away. She had chosen the life of a medicine cat. There was no going back. Try to get some sleep now, she mewed to Sorreltail. I don't know if you guys heard that. My stomach just growled so loudly. Holy. Brakenfur, make sure she rests. Brakenfur gave Sorreltail's ear an affectionate lick. I will. Leafpool turned away and blundered out into the bright sunlight, where she stood blinking. She'd given up Crowfeather, her mentor was dead, and her best friend had a mate and kits to care for. Even her sister, Squirrelflight, who had once shared everything with Leafpool, was together with Brambleclaw again. Leafpool wanted her sister to be happy, but she missed being closer to her than any other cat. Oh, StarClan, she murmured, I've given up everything for you. I hope this is what you wanted. Dang, Leafpool lonely as heck. For the rest of the day, she buried herself in her duties. Brightheart and Whitepaw worked tirelessly to collect supplies, and by the time the sun went down, the stocks of herbs and berries had been replenished, and Leafpool had treated the wounds of every cat in the clan. As they withdrew to their dens for the rest they badly needed, she looked around the clearing and saw that the terrible scars of the attack were beginning to fade. Dustpelt and his helpers had piled up thorns for a new entrance barrier that was already half complete, while Sandstorm and the other hunters had brought in plenty of prey to build up the fresh kill pile. Leafpool was exhausted, but she knew that she would be unable to sleep. Instead of going back into her den, she padded across the clearing and out past the partially rebuilt barrier of thorns. Unbidden, her paws carried her towards the lake, until she reached the open ground at the edge of the trees and could gaze out at the starlit water. Memories flooded back of the night she had sneaked out of camp to meet Crowfeather. Then her paws had felt light as air. She had raced through the break-in to their meeting place. Now everything was changed. Grief and loss weighed her down like stone. She settled into a drift of dry leaves, letting her gaze rest on the starry surface of the lake. Not many heartbeats passed before she saw the stars. She saw that the stars in the water were moving. At first she thought it was just wind ruffling the surface, but all around her the air was still. Her pelt prickled. Above her, the stars of silver pelt blazed down as they had always done, cold, white, and unmoving. But in the lake, some patches of water were dark and empty, while the reflected stars swam sparkling across the surface until they were clustered together in two slender paths. What the? Leafpool gasped. The stars had become two sets of paw prints twining together across the indigo water. Was this a message from StarClan? Was she dreaming? A movement at the far end of the starry paw print caught her eye, and she peered across the lake. Two cats had appeared, walking away from her with more stars spooling out after them. At first they were indistinct, shadowy shapes. Leafpool strained to make them out, expecting to see warriors from StarClan. Then, as the shapes grew clearer, she saw that one was a dark tabby with broad shoulders, while the other was smaller, lighter framed with dark ginger fur. Leafpool's heart thudded harder. It was Brambleclaw and Squirrelflight. They were padding away from her side by side, so close that their pelts brushed together and their tracks merged into a single glittering path. On and on went their paw prints, sparkling across the dark water. Then the cats faded into the shadows, and the reflected stars spilled across the surface of the lake until they matched the stars in the sky once more. Leafpool shivered. StarClan knew she had been anxious about Brambleclaw, that her trust in him had been shaken by her sinister dream of Tigerstar. They must have sent this sign to let her know that his destiny was so closely intertwined with Squirrelflight, no cat could separate their paths. Surely this meant StarClan approved of Squirrelflight's choice of her mate. If that was the case, Leafpool had no need to worry about her dark vision of Tigerstar training his sons. She didn't have to warn Squirrelflight about her relationship with Brambleclaw. Their future rested in the paws of StarClan. Comfort crept over her like a warm breeze, and she curled up among the rustling leaves and drifted out on a wave of sleep.
You're Eepy, just like Leafpool.
Her eyes blinked open what felt like moments later. She lay still in the hollow. Shadows of leaves danced over her as the branches of the beech trees moved in a gentle breeze. A sweet scent drifted around her, and she lifted her head to see Spotted Leaf sitting on a root, a tail length away. "Spotted Leaf!" she exclaimed, knowing that she was dreaming. Suddenly, she remembered the last time she had spoken to the beautiful tortoiseshell, and she sprang to her paws, trembling with anger. "You lied to me! You told me to leave ThunderClan and go away with Crowfeather. Cinderpelt died because I left my clan." "Peace, dear one." Spotted Leaf jumped down from the tree root and came over to brush her muzzle against Leafpool's shoulder. "I told you to follow your heart, and your heart lies with your clan, so you have followed your heart after all." Leafpool gazed at her, bewildered. Crowfeather had said exactly the same thing before he had left her to go back to WindClan. "Then why didn't you tell me that's what you meant?" she protested. "Would you have listened?" Spotted Leaf's gaze was full of pained love. "You needed to make the choice to go with Crowfeather. It was the only way you could find that it was the wrong path for you to follow." It is cat drama. Leafpool knew she was right. She hadn't understood how committed she was to her clan until she had tried to leave. "But Cinderpelt died," she repeated miserably. "Cinderpelt knew what was going to happen," Spotted Leaf meowed. "She knew there was no way to escape it. Not even StarClan can turn aside the paws of fate. That's why she didn't try to stop you from going. Do you think that things would have been differently if you had stayed?" "I know they would," Leafpool insisted. "I would have never left her if I'd known. That is a weight that you will carry for a long while. But I promise you not. You could not have done anything to change what happened to Cinderpelt." Spotted Leaf pressed close against Leafpool's side. Her comforting warmth was still not enough to ease Leafpool's pain. "Since she died, I haven't seen her in my dreams," Leafpool whispered. I haven't felt her presence, smelled her scent, or heard her voice. She must be angry with me, or she would come to me. No, Leafpool, Cinderpelt loved you. Do you think she would abandon you even in death? Her paws walk another path for now. What? Fresh anxiety surged up inside Leafpool. She had thought she understood the links between a medicine cat and the spirits of her warrior ancestors. What was this other path? Did Spotted Leaf mean that Cinderpelt was wandering in the dark forest where Leafpools had seen Tiger Star? What do you mean? She demanded, her neck fur bristling. Where is she? That I cannot tell you, but she is well, I promise you, and you will see her again sooner than you think. Spotted Leaf's voice faded away. The warmth against Leafpool's side melted into the breeze, and the StarClan cat's tortoiseshell fur blended into the dapples of light and shadow until Leafpool couldn't see her anymore. Only her scent remained a heartbeat longer. Leafpool opened her eyes to see the peaceful lake water still dappled with the reflection of countless stars. Fresh grief for Cinderpelt swept over her. Why did she have to die? Why hadn't she come to Leafpool in her dreams like Spotted Leaf? Leafpool wanted to cry like an abandoned kit. Instead, she rose and stretched. Wherever you are, Cinderpelt, she mewed out loud. If you can hear me, I promise that I will never leave our clan again. I am their medicine cat now, and I will follow in your paw steps until it's my turn to walk with StarClan. Hesitating, she added, but please, if I ever meant anything to you, come to me when you can and tell me you forgive me. Chapter 4. It is cat drama. Marky Moo, have you ever read The Warrior Cats? It's a series from, it's a pretty like nostalgic series from lots of kids' past, lots of people's past, lots of childhoods. Yes, lots of childhoods. Okay, I'm gonna open up my. Sorry for the crunchy.
You missed it sadly.
I think there were other paths that people could have taken. Like there was Warrior Cats, there was the owl one, there was Aragon. Chip. Where the heck is just a tired person? I finally have chips. Aragon right here. I knew it. You pegged me as an Aragon kind of guy. Yummy. They're very flawed, but I like them. Understandable. A lot of books are pretty flawed. I'm pretty sure... Warrior Cats isn't like an amazing series. Did it shape my childhood and the rest of my life? Yes. Is it the best writing around? Not really. Scrumptious. I think people need to realize that it's okay to not it's okay to consume things that aren't perfect, you know? You know how refreshing and freeing it is to watch bad Netflix shows and just enjoy them? You know? Like, I recommend doing that to anybody. Getting used to, like, just watching bad Netflix shows, but having them, like, not even, like, bad, like, mediocre shows. That aren't perfect. That have flaws to them. That have bad acting, you know? It's humbling. And then when somebody asks, hey, what have you been watching recently? You can say, oh, this Netflix show. And they're like, oh, is it any good? Would you recommend it? And you're like, nah, but enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Would I recommend it to you that it was an amazing thing? No. If you need something to play in the background while you're doing laundry or chores, maybe. Sometimes we just need that kind of content. Like today, I was trying to watch Ame play Outer Wilds, but I couldn't focus on it. And then I tried to watch someone else play Outer Wilds, and then I couldn't focus on that either. And then I tried to watch just one of my favorite streamers' streams, and I couldn't focus on that either. So I ended up just throwing on a random Netflix documentary. And that was the only thing that helped my brain be able to function. I want them. I want them! Put them in the... Where would you put them? Put them in some Discord channel in the Discord. Pretzel. Yeah, maybe. Let me see. Where might it go? Like... Oh, I forgot I have to post things in the gallery. Media, maybe? Oh my gosh, guys. My espresso and lava cake are done cooking. Serve. Oh, I leveled up! Oh my god, I can buy cappuccinos now. We'll prepare lava cake. And prepare cup cappuccino. You're officially older! Happy birthday, Jules! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Jules! Happy birthday to you! And many more! A euro rounding! No! I wonder how Herthians determine age. Since their days are much shorter. Days don't even exist. It's more like, oh, yesterday hour, it was a little darker than today hour. Oh yeah, the sap wine. I wonder if they count days too. They must count like something. Maybe they count like... I don't know. I don't know what they would count. Yeah, Outer Wilds! Heh. Kona's starting some bakery. Cool. Kona. Is the cat RPG over? No, I still have to read about 20 more pages. I like to read 100 pages of each book every single Warrior Cat stream so that I can finish each book in like 3 weeks. I'm taking a break to eat my munchies. My chippies. One of the funny things about rereading the Warrior Cats books is whenever there's more kits introduced, I'm like scanning my brain to try and figure out which ones are still alive. Like which ones survive. Which ones actually became warriors. Or were integrated more deeply into the story enough that I knew who they were. Yummy. Is Firestar still alive? Yeah, he's well. He's healthy. I think he has 7 lives. He was only lost 2. Yeah. Apparently. Okay, let's put some chippies. What happened to the other? He lost the one during the battle with Blood Clan. The battle with Scrooge. And then he lost another when the forest was being taken down. He was in Shadow Clan camp and their camp was being bulldozed down. And so they were all working together to get the Shadow Clan cats out of their camp. And in the process, I think he got hit by a tree or something. I don't remember exactly what happened. But he lost a life there. And then he may have lost... No, actually, I don't think so. But there is a possibility he just lost one during the badger attack. But I don't know. I can't be sure. You remember him getting hit? Yeah. Scrumptious. I love eating pretzels because it's like, I forget how good they are, you know? It just slips my mind how yummy they are. But I can't eat too many pretzels at once. Like, pretzels are the only chips I can ration, you know? Like, I'll have like a bag of pretzels or I'll have like some pretzels in like some other bag and then I don't crave more. So then I don't eat anymore. But they're so good while I do eat them. Right. 20 more pages. Let's go! Who's the cat on the bottom left? Oh, that's, I don't know. I didn't give him a name. He reacts to things and he says hi. Yeah. He's basically, because I moved from Stream Elements after they had like some nasty stances on some stuff. I stopped using Stream Elements, so I had to switch everything over to something else. That's why the chat's different. And one of my widgets that I had made was through Stream Elements where Snickle Fritz, or no, at the time it was the Pop Cubs. You know the little Pop Cub gif in the corner of my streams? It would always start talking whenever somebody followed or said something in the chat, right? But that was a Stream Element thing. And so when I stopped using Stream Elements, I wasn't able to have that widget anymore. So this is a Stream Pet that does all of that. So it'll say hi, and then it'll react when there's like a sub or a follow or whatever. But on my normal streams, like on my normal screen, I just hide I put Snickle Fritz on top of it so you can't see the cat. But then because it's Warrior Cat Wednesdays, I'm like, okay, the cat can be free and it can, talk. It can wiggle. Sneaky, I know. Freedom! He only gets to see the light of day when there's warrior cats involved. Right.
Chapter 4.
A cold breeze ruffling his fur woke Brambleclaw. Stretching his jaws in an enormous yawn, he looked up. A patch of pale sky was visible through a ragged hole where once thorn branches had sheltered the warrior's den. Dawn was breaking. It was time to get to work. Brambleclaw felt more hopeful after a good night's sleep, undisturbed by dreams. Around him, the other cats were beginning to wake. Cloudtail got up, wincing as he put weight on the paw that had lost a claw. Badgers, he snorted. If I ever see another, it'll be too soon. He brushed between two branches, out into the clearing. Brambleclaw had gone to sleep with Squirrelflight curled up by his side, her sweet scent in his nostrils. But now she was gone, leaving only a flattened patch of moss. His pelt prickled when he saw that Ashfur was gone too. He sprang up. Hi, Bimstar! Making his wounded shoulder protest with a shriek of pain. But before he could follow them into the clearing, he heard Squirrelflight and Ashfur outside. He stood without moving, screened by a branch to listen. Look, Ashfur. Oh my god, she's breaking up with him. Squirrelflight's voice told Brambleclaw that she was trying hard to hold her temple. I really care about you as a friend, and I don't want any more than that. But I love you! Oh my god. Ashfur protested. More hesitantly, he added, We'd be great together, Squirrelflight. I know we would. Brambleclaw felt a stab of sympathy for the Grey Warrior. He remembered how he had felt when he thought he had lost Squirrelflight's affection. I'm sorry, Squirrelflight went on. I never meant to hurt you, but Brambleclaw... Well, I think StarClan has destined us to be together. I don't know how you can say that. There was a hint of a snarl in Ashfur's voice. You said yourself that it's impossible to trust a cat with Brambleclaw's heritage. He's a great cat, I know, but he's still Tigerstar's son. Brambleclaw's feelings of sympathy vanished instantly. He unsheathed his long, curved claws and sank them into the ground. Would he never be judged for what he was instead of who his father had been? Worse, would Squirrelflight be unable to trust him because Tigerstar was his father? I'll judge Brambleclaw by his own actions, she retorted hotly, not by something that other cats did long before I was born. I'm only thinking of you, Squirrelflight, Ashfur meowed. I can remember Tigerstar. His paws were red with the blood of innocent cats. You know that he murdered my mother to lure a pack of dogs to our camp? Squirrelflight murmured something Brambleclaw didn't catch, then went on more clearly. But that doesn't mean Brambleclaw would turn out like his father. Movement behind Brambleclaw distracted him, and he realized that more of the warriors were stirring. Not wanting to be caught eavesdropping, he slid quickly between the branches and into the clearing. Squirrelflight turned to him as he appeared. Hi, Brambleclaw! The light was strengthened in the sky, and the sky was clear, prompting sunlight later to drive off the dawn chill. But for Brambleclaw, the warmth in Squirrelflight's eyes was even better. He patted over and touched noses with her, trying to ignore the frosty look Ashfur gave him. As he stretched to ease the stiffness in his shoulder, Brambleclaw saw Firestar emerge from his den into the high ledge, and he tasted the morning air. Firestar, he called. Has the Dawn Patrol left yet? No. Would you like to lead one? Brambleclaw dipped his head. Of course. Coming with me? He asked Squirrelflight. She nodded. Ashfur mewed abruptly. I'm going to check on Birchpaw. And stalked off towards Leafpool's den without waiting for a reply. Rest in peace, Ashfur. He was just dumped hard. Squirrelflight watched him walk away, her green gaze troubled. I'm sorry he's been hurt. She meowed. I thought he was the right mate for me, but he's not. I don't know how I can make him understand. Brambleclaw knew there was nothing he could say to make her feel better, so he just pressed his muzzle briefly to hers. Wait, why wouldn't... They haven't even, said that they love each other yet. It's all, between the lines. It's, implied, you know? Because I picked Brambleclaw now, but nothing has been made official. Just, they're leaning against each other now. Subtle. The Grey Warrior was popular with all their clanmates. While Brambleclaw had forged his strongest friendships with the cats who had traveled to the Sundrown place, and all but Squirrelflight were in a different clan. A rustle sounded behind him as Brightheart pushed her way into the open. She glanced around as if she were looking for Cloudtail, then pricked her ears when she spotted him outside the nursery. He was talking to Daisy while her 3 kits tried to scramble over him. Brambleclaw saw sadness shadow Brightheart's gaze and felt a stab of anger. Cloudtail had bees in his brain if he couldn't see how he was hurting Brightheart with the attention he was giving to the horseplace cat. Hey, Brightheart, he meowed, pretending he hadn't noticed anything. Do you want to come with the Dawn Patrol? Brightheart shook her head. Thanks, but I promised to help Leafpool this morning. Can we have Whitepaw again? Sure. It's a good idea to keep her busy while breaking furs in the nursery with Sorreltail. Thanks. I'll go in and call her. Dude's hanging out with another lady and his kids instead of his own wife and his child. Can't believe this. Impatient to be off, Brambleclaw stuck his head back through the branches into the den. Dustpelt was just getting up, shaking scraps of moths from his brown tabby fur. Dawn Patrol? Brambleclaw meowed. Dustpelt twitched his whiskers. I'll be right with you. If ShadowClan have ever heard about badgers, they might be getting ideas about helping themselves to our territory while we're still recovering. Brambleclaw had been thinking exactly the same thing. The border with WindClan would be secure. One Star had brought his warriors to help drive out the badgers. He wouldn't be so two-faced as to take advantage of ThunderClan's weakness. But Blackstar, the ShadowClan leader, was a different cat altogether. He would take any chance he could to extend his territory. Calling Spiderleg to complete the patrol, Brambleclaw retreated into the clearing again. Once the other warriors joined him, he led the way out through the tangle of thorns at the entrance and down towards the lake. By the time the trees thinned around them, the sun was resting over the hills, the lake glittering so brightly that it dazzled Brambleclaw's eyes. A breeze blew across the water, ruffling his fur. As he padded along the lake shore towards the stream that marked the boundary with ShadowClan, he realized how good it felt to have Squirrelflight at his side again. Quarreling with her always made him feel as if his fur were being brushed the wrong way. You go ahead, he ordered Spiderleg. Check the ShadowClan scent markers as far as the dead tree. Make sure they're all where they should be and wait for us there. As Spiderleg raced off, he added to Dustpelt and Squirrelflight, we'll renew our own scent markers and check for ShadowClan scent on our territory. He led his patrol upstream until they reached the point where the stream veered away, deeper into ShadowClan. Dustpelt let out a hiss. Still can't believe we let ShadowClan set their markers here. He meowed with an irritable twitch of his tail. The stream should be the boundary. Any cat can see it. Squirrelflight's tail curled up with amusement. Try telling that to Blackstar. You might get away with both your eyes. Her former mentor snorted and stalked on, following the line of the border. Before they had gone many paw steps further, Brambleclaw. Oh, thank you, Happy, for the ride! I'm gonna finish the chapter, okay? Before they had gone many paw steps farther, Brambleclaw heard the sound of a cat hurling through the trees ahead of them. He raised his tail for the others to stop and tasted the air. Give me that. But the only scent he could detect was ThunderClan's. A clump of bracken waved wildly and Spiderleg dashed out into the open. What are you doing? Brambleclaw scolded. I told you to wait by the dead tree. You haven't had enough time to... I know, Spiderleg interrupted, his chest heaving, but I found something really weird. You have to come and look. What now? Dustpelt sighed, rolling his eyes. No more badgers, I hope. Trouble from ShadowClan? Brambleclaw asked sharply. No, some two-leg thing. Spiderleg panted. I've never seen anything like it. He waved his tail for them to follow. Brambleclaw exchanged a glance with Squirrelflight and padded after Spiderleg, still checking carefully for any ShadowClan scent on ThunderClan's side of the border. He scented nothing but the usual markers until Spiderleg brought them to a small clearing. The ground was almost covered with a thick growth of ferns, the fresh green fronds unfurling into the pale sun. My favorite. Brambleclaw felt the fur on his shoulders bristle as he picked up a new scent. Fox, he growled. Still, though, Squirrelflight added, there hasn't been a fox here for the last couple of days, at least. Brambleclaw wasn't reassured. He had spotted a track through the ferns, a narrow path dimpled with many paw marks. The scent of fox was stronger there. The vile creatures must use it regularly. He reminded himself to check the area later to see if there was a den nearby. Spiderleg had stopped a little further up the fox track, a few tailings from the ShadowClan border. Here's the two-leg thing, he meowed, pointing with his tail. Brambleclaw pushed his way through the ferns to avoid setting a paw where the foxes had been. There was something gleaming near the young warrior's paws. It was the length of thin, shiny stuff curved into a loop and fastened to a stick that was stuck in the ground. Curved into a loop and stuck in the ground. You're right. Must be a two-leg thing, he mewed. They use that shiny stuff to make fences for their sleep. And there's two-leg scent all over it, Dustpelt added, catching up to them. What is it doing here? What's it for? Spiderleg bent his head to sniff it more closely, but Dustpelt shouldered him aside before he could touch it. Mousebrain, he snapped. Didn't your mentor ever tell you not to stick your nose in before you know what you're dealing with? Sure, Mousefur taught me everything, Spiderleg retorted, glaring at the older warrior. Remember it then. Squirrelflight stood beside Brambleclaw while they both studied the loop and stick closely. What happens if we touch it? Oh! It's a fox trap! That's why they put it where the foxes were going. What happens if we touch it? Squirrelflight asked, cautiously advancing a paw. Brambleclaw's tail struck her paw aside. We don't want to find out the hard way, he warned her. We have to do something, Squirrelflight protested. Hang on, let's try this. She grabbed a long stick in her jaws. Careful, Brambleclaw warned. Squirrelflight flicked her ears at him, then crept cautiously up to the two-leg thing and poked the stick into the shiny loop. At once, the loop snapped tight, gripped the end of the stick. Spiderleg let out a squeak of alarm and leaped backwards, his pelt bristling and his ears flattened. Brambleclaw stood his ground, but a shudder went through him from ears to tail tip. He closed his eyes, imagining a cat looping along the track, unaware of any danger, until it thrust its head into the loop and... That could snap a cat's neck, he meowed. Or choke it to death, Dustpelt agreed grimly. Squirrelflight dropped the stick. This isn't meant for us, she pointed out. The two legs put it on the fox track. They must mean to trap foxes with it. Why? Meowed Spiderleg. Dustpelt shrugged. They're crazy. All two legs are crazy. Brambleclaw looked again at the length of the shiny stuff, thinner than an ivy trendle, wrapped so tightly around the stick that it had crushed the pale green bark. It's harmless now, he mewed, but there might be more of them. We'll have to report it and make sure every cat knows what to watch out for. At least we know what to do with them. Dustpelt dipped his head to his former apprentice. Good thinking, Squirrelflight. Squirrelflight's green eyes gleamed. Dustpelt didn't give praise lightly. Spiderleg too. That was well spotted, Brambleclaw added, but his belly clenched at the thought of how easily the young warrior could have run straight into the trap. We'd better finish the patrol, he ordered, and let's all be careful while we put our paws. This forest could be full of these things. As they made their way along the ShadowClan border, Brambleclaw let Dustpelt take the lead. He and Squirrelflight padded along, side by side, at the rear of the patrol. Brambleclaw tried not to let her closeness distract him from tasting the air, keeping his eyes open for any more of the sinister, shining loops. Do you think we ought to warn the other clans about those fox traps? He asked. Squirrelflight glanced at him, her green eyes wary. You're thinking of Hawkfrost, aren't you? No, not just River Clan. Brambleclaw meowed, trying not to let his neck fur bristle. Wind Clan probably haven't much to worry about, except for that patch of woodland on the other side of the stream. But there must be traps on ShadowClan territory. The one we found was right on the border. Oh my god. Look at that. I'm bowless. Firestar! We'll have to decide whether we tell them or not, Squirrelflight pointed out. He'll probably announce it at the next gathering. Brambleclaw halted and faced her. Squirrelflight, can we talk this through without clawing at each other? Did you really think I just wanted to warn RiverClan because of Hawkfrost? Hawkfrost, his half-brother, Tigerstar's son, and the cat Squirrelflight refused to trust. If he and Squirrelflight were to be together now, they had to sort this problem out once and for all. Yes, I did think that. To his relief, Squirrelflight was direct, but didn't sound angry. You know how I feel about Hawkfrost. But he's my brother, Brambleclaw reminded her. I can't ignore that, any more than I can ignore that Tawny Pelt's my sister, even though she is a ShadowClan warrior. He wondered if he was being entirely honest. He had never walked in dreams with Tawny Pelt, as he did with Hawkfrost, following twisted paths in their meetings with their father, Tigerstar. Tawny Pelt had never joined in these meetings, where he and Hawkfrost were taught to lead their clans. He knew that he could never tell Squirrelflight or any other cat in ThunderClan about that dark forest and the dark warrior who waited for him. But there's no need, he argued with himself. They'll never understand. There might be things Tigerstar can teach me, but that doesn't mean I do what he did to gain power. Tawny Pelt's different, Squirrelflight persisted. She journeyed with us, and for one thing, she's half ThunderClan cat. Brambleclaw bit back a protest. He wanted to settle the quarrel, not start it up again. Think of it like this, he began. If Leafpool had gone to WindClan with Crowfeather, would you care for Annie less? Of course not. Squirrelflight's eyes stretched wide. She could go off with the whole of WindClan and she'd still be my sister. And Hawkfrost is still my brother. Like Tawny Pelt's still my sister. We'll always be kin, even though we are in different clans. You're lucky that you have your sister in the same clan. I'd give anything to have my kin with me. Squirrelflight searched his face with penetrating green eyes. Okay, she mewed. I guess I can understand that. I just don't like to feel that Hawkfrost isn't as important to you as your clanmates. He's not, Brambleclaw replied at once. My first loyalty is always to my clan. Brambleclaw! Dustpelt's voice interrupted them. Brambleclaw whipped around to see the brown tabby warrior shouldering his way through a clump of bracken. Spiderleg peered out of the ferns just behind him. Are we on a patrol? Or aren't we? Did you plan to stand there all day gossiping? Sorry, Brambleclaw meowed, bounding towards Dustpelt and taking the lead to head further along the border. As Dustpelt, Spiderleg, and Squirrelflight patted hard on his paws, he hoped that his arguments about Hawkfrost had convinced Squirrelflight more thoroughly than they had convinced him. He hoped that if he ever had to choose, he really would put his clan before his brother. He was lying! He doesn't think he'd put his clan before his brother! Brambleclaw. Baffling. Chapter 5. Let all cats old enough to catch their own prey join here beneath the high ledge. I'd say fair. Firestar's yowl halted Leafpool on her way from the Elder's Den, where she had been checking Mousefur's wounds. The round-furred elder was still complaining of stiffness, but the claw marks had begun to heal, and there was no sign of infection. Leafpool made her way towards the edge of the clearing, stopping beneath the ledge where Firestar stood, looking down at his clan. Sandstorm and Thornclaw got up from the fresh kill pile and padded over, while Cloudtail and Rainwhisker left their work on the thorn barrier. Uneasiness gnawed in Leafpool's belly. The Dawn Patrol had just returned and gone straight to Firestar. Had they discovered more badgers? Or maybe signs that ShadowClan were trying to take over part of their territory? Trying to stifle her anxiety, Leafpool sat down beside Ferncloud, who mewed a greeting and asked anxiously, How's Birchpaw? He'll be fine, Leafpool replied. Birchpaw was Ferncloud's kit, the only one of his litter to survive the famine in the old forest. She could understand how worried his mother must be about his injuries. The swelling around his eyes is going down, but I'll keep him with me for a few more days until I'm sure there's no infection. Ferncloud gave Leafpool's ear a grateful lick. You're a wonderful medicine cat, Leafpool. I'm so glad you came back. I haven't been wonderful, Leafpool thought. I abandoned my clan. The elders emerged from their den and settled down near the rock wall, glancing nervously at one another like they expected bad news. Stormfur and Brooke hovered on the edge of the clearing, as if they weren't sure whether they were meant to be there or not. Leafpool beckoned them with her tail. "Come and sit here with me," she invited. "You're welcome to join in while you're staying with us." Nodding gratefully, Stormfur and Brooke came over to join her. Daisy brought her 3 kits out, and Bracken first sat in the entrance to the nursery, where he could listen and still be close to Sorreltail. Brambleclaw and the rest of the Dawn Patrol were standing together at the foot of the tumbled rocks. Leafpool saw their tails were fluffed out and their eyes alert, as if they could sense danger on its way. "Cats of ThunderClan," Firestar began. "Brambleclaw and the Dawn Patrol found something you need to know about. Brambleclaw, will you tell them?" Brambleclaw leaped up onto one of the rocks. "We found a 2-leg trap on a fox track," he meowed. "It's a loop of thin, shiny stuff, fastened to a stick driven into the ground. When you touch the loop, it pulls tight. Any cat who got their head stuck in that could be killed." Before he had finished speaking, wails of dismay began to rise from the cats who sat around him. Asper crouched down with his neck fur bristling as if he were about to leap onto an enemy, while Whitepaw pressed her belly to the ground in terror. Beside her, Cloudtail lashed his tail and bared his teeth in a snarl. Mousefur's voice rose above the rest. "Are these traps all over our territory?" Brambleclaw waved his tail for silence so that he could reply. Leafpool thought how commanding he looked, standing on the rock. It wasn't difficult to imagine him becoming clan deputy. Is Firestar right to keep on hoping that Greystripe will return? Would it be better for the clan to accept that he was gone and appoint a new deputy? "We only found 1 trap," Brambleclaw was meowing, "but it makes sense there would be more." "Why?" Rainwhisker demanded. "Why would 2-legs want to trap foxes anyways?" The cats glanced at one another, murmuring in bewilderment. Then a new, trembling voice spoke up. "I can tell you why." Leafpool glanced over his shoulder and saw that Daisy had risen to her paws. It was the first time the house cat had spoken in a clan meeting, and she looked almost as terrified as when the badgers had broken into camp. "Go on, Daisy." Firestar mewed encouragingly. The no-furs, the 2-legs, kept birds on their farms for fresh kill. Not little birds like the ones we eat, bigger. The foxes came and steal them, so the 2-legs want to kill the foxes to protect their birds." She sat down again, blinking in embarrassment, and wrapped her tail around her paws. "Thanks, Daisy," Firestar told her. "At least now we understand what's going on." "But what are we going to do about it?" Cloudtail demanded. "What can we do?" Goldenflower challenged him. "No cat can stop 2-legs from doing what they want. We saw that in the old forest. This place is worse." "That's not true." Raincloud spoke gently to the elder. "Even if it was, we can't go back. There'll be nothing left of the old forest by now. Here we have to learn new things. StarClan wouldn't have brought us somewhere that's too dangerous for us to live." "Then maybe StarClan can tell us what to do about the traps." Goldenflower flashed back at her. "We can do that," Brambleclaw meowed. "Squirrelflight worked it out. Squirrelflight, come up here and tell them." Leafpool watched her sister leap up onto the rock beside Brambleclaw. The sunlight gleamed on her dark ginger fur, turning it into flame. For an instant, she looked just like her father. "It's easy," she meowed. "You get a stick, as long as you can manage, and poke it into the loop. The loop snaps tight around the stick, and there you are. No more problem." Pride flooded over Leafpool. Their mother Sandstorm's green eyes shone with admiration, too. "The real danger," Firestar warned, "is the cats that will come across these things when they aren't expecting it. All patrols will have to keep a lookout and report back if they find anything." "And if we spring a trap with the stick," Brambleclaw added, "we should check it regularly in case the 2-legs set it again." "Good thinking," Firestar meowed. "We'll do that. Every cat who goes outside the clearing should watch their paws and check for scent. Fox scent and 2-leg scent together means danger." "How are we supposed to hunt then?" Rainwhisker muttered. "We can't watch and scent then chase prey all at the same time." Leafpool knew he was partially right. She shivered at the thought of a cat racing along, intent on bringing down fresh kill for the clan, only to run into one of the shining loops. "StarClan help us," she thought. "Sooner or later, some cat is going to be killed." Her worries had distracted her briefly from the meeting, and when she started listening again, Firestar was talking about hunting patrols. Stormfur and Brooke, ThunderClan thanks you, he meowed. Feeding the clan after the attack would have been a lot tougher without you. Stormfur dipped his head in acknowledgement, while Brooke studied her paws, looking embarrassed to be praised in front of the whole clan. I want all cats who are fit to go out on a hunting patrol, Firestar went on. By sunset, I'd like all the clan to be well fed and the fresh kill pile to be stocked up. Cloudtail and I went out yesterday, Sandstorm meowed, rising to her paws. I'll go again, but I think Cloudtail should rest that injured paw. I spotted you limping. She added to Cloudtail as he sprung up with a yowl of protest. And your pad is bleeding again. Cloudtail sat down again, the tip of his tail twitching. I'll come with you, Brambleclaw offered. Instantly, Ashfur was on his paws. So will I! He spoke to Sandstorm, but he was glaring at Brambleclaw. Stupid tomcats, Leafpool thought. She got up, signaling with her tail to Firestar that she wanted to speak. Yes, Leafpool? Brambleclaw's shoulder is badly hurt, and he's already been out on patrol today, Leafpool explained, and Ashfur's injuries are some of the worst in the clan. I want to check them both before they set a paw outside the camp. Quite right, meowed Firestar. In that case, I don't think either Brambleclaw or Ashfur should go. And Leafpool, please check all the other cats. No cat should leave camp until Leafpool approves it. Sandstorm, will you see to the patrols? Sandstorm agreed, and the meeting broke up. Hey, Leafpool, Thornclaw meowed. Take a look at my injuries first, will you? I want to go hunting. And mine, Spiderleg added, thrusting forward to stand beside his clanmate. Look, the scratches are healing. I'm fine, honestly. You're fine if I say you are, Leafpool retorted. She began rapidly checking wounds, sending the worst injured cats to their den for more treatment, while Sandstorm organized the others into patrols. In the end, 2 patrols left camp, Thornclaw with Dustpelt and Ferncloud, and Sandstorm leading Squirrelflight and Spiderleg. Wait! Firestar called, climbing down the tumbling rocks to join Sandstorm in the clearing. I'll come with you. Sandstorm looked at him with narrowed eyes. I suppose it's no good telling you to go back into your den and rest. Not good at all, Firestar agreed, giving her shoulder an affectionate flick with his tail. Every cat is injured, and my scratches aren't as bad as most. That should be for Leafpool to say, Sandstorm mewed, turning to their daughter. Leafpool sniffed the scratches on Firestar's flank and shoulders. She knew she had to forget he was her father and clan leader and treat him like any other injured cat. He wouldn't thank her for trying to keep him safe by insisting that he stayed in the hollow. Fortunately, though his body was laced with scratches, none of them were very deep. She had treated them with marigold right after battle, and they were beginning to heal. You should be okay, she meowed at last. I'll fetch you some more marigold before you go, and if the scratches start bleeding again, come straight back. Firestar gave a grunt of acknowledgement. StarClan only knew whether he would actually do as he was told. Leafpool went back to her den to fetch the marigold. As she emerged with the leaves in her jaws, she saw Firestar had followed her, meeting her a couple foxlings from her den. You've noticed how Squirrelflight and Brambleclaw have been since the battle? He asked as she chewed up the leaves and began patting them on his wounds. They seem to be getting over their fight. He's not so subtly asking his daughter if he knows anything about his other daughter's love life. Leafpool went on working for a moment. She didn't particularly want to discuss her sister, but Firestar was obviously waiting for a response. Yes, she mewed after a busy pause. I think the badger attack made them realize what's important. Ashfur must be disappointed. I suppose he is. Leafpool wondered whether to tell her father about her dream of Tigerstar with his sons in the dark forest. Wasn't that what a medicine cat was for? To warn her clan leader of possible trouble? I used to find it hard to have a cat in the clan who looks exactly like Tigerstar. Firestar went on. Leafpool knew he meant Brambleclaw. When Tawnypet left to join ShadowClan, I realized that she and Brambleclaw belonged by birth to ThunderClan. Whoever their father was, that doesn't change. Besides, StarClan wouldn't have sent Brambleclaw on the quest to the Sundrown Place if they didn't trust him. Leafpool murmured agreement, moving around Firestar to trickle the healing juices onto the scratches that on his other side. I need to trust Squirrelflight's judgment. She's not a kid anymore. Firestar continued. She values Brambleclaw for the warrior he is now. Judging him for being Tigerstar's son would be like judging me for being a kitty pet. You haven't been to Kitty Pet for many seasons, Leafpool protested. She still found it hard to imagine that her father, of all cats, eating the hard Kitty Pet food than letting Two Legs handle him. And Brambleclaw hasn't seen his father for many seasons, Firestar countered. That's where you're wrong, Leafpool wanted to say. But before she could speak, her father went on more gently. I'm glad you came back, Leafpool. I think you made the right decision. And I hope you think so too. Cinderpelt had great faith in you. I know, Leafpool meowed humbly. I owe it to her to be the best medicine cat I can be. When she had finished dabbing on the marigold, Firestar thanked her and padded away to join Sandstorm, who was waiting near the thorn barrier with the rest of the hunting patrol. Frustrated, Leafpool watched him go. She couldn't tell him about the dream or voice her fears about Brambleclaw now. It might sound as if she were jealous of her sister's happy relationship because she had been forced to give up Crowfeather. Sighing, she turned back to her den and the cats who were waiting for her. It was almost sun-high by the time Leafpool had finished treating the injured cats. Most of them had gone back to their dens to rest. Apart from Birchpaw, only Cloudtail remained, holding out his paw while Leafpool put polish of Horsetail on the wound. You have to stay off it as much as you can, she scolded him. No wonder the bleeding won't stop. Going hunting yesterday was mouse-brained. Cloudtail mutinously twitched his tail. The clan needs to be fed. The clan is being fed. Now, do you want to stay here where I can keep an eye on you, or will you rest in the warrior's den? I'll rest in the warrior's den, Cloudtail promised with a sigh, and thanks, Leafpool. You're doing a fantastic job. It'd be easier if some cats had the sense of a newborn kit, Leafpool retorted. And if I see you... Hi, Valley! She broke off as Squirrelflight brushed past the screen of brambles in front of the den, a vole in her jaws. Here, fresh kill, she meowed, after dropping it at Leafpool's paws. She turned to leave again, but not before Leafpool had seen the misery in her eyes. She hardly needed to see it. She could feel her sister's churning emotions like a crackle in the air before a thunderstorm. Wait, Squirrelflight, what's the matter? She asked. For a moment she thought Squirrelflight would stalk off without replying. Then her sister turned back, cast a rapid glance at Cloudtail, and mewed in a low voice. It's Ashfur. I passed him just now, and when I said hi, he stared through me as if I wasn't there. Rainwhisker was with him, she went on, as Leafpool laid her tail comfortably on his shoulder. The whole clan must be talking about me. You can hardly blame Ashfur, Leafpool told her. He really cares for you. I never meant to hurt him. Squirrelflight's voice, though quiet, was anguished, and her green eyes were filled with guilt. He's a great cat, and I thought it would work out, being with him. But Brambleclaw... Oh, Leafpool, do you think I'm doing the right thing? Leafpool moved closer to her so that their pelts brushed. Last night I went down to the lake, she mewed carefully. Starkland sent me a dream. 2 sets of starry paw prints on the water, wound so closely I couldn't tell which was which. And then I saw you and Brambleclaw walking together at the end of the trail, the paw prints spilling out behind you. You were side by side, keeping pace with each other, step for step, until you vanished into the sky. Squirrelflight's eyes stretched wide. Really? Starkland showed you that? Then that must mean Brambleclaw and I are meant to be together. That's right, I think so. Leafpool tried not to sound fearful. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Leafpool. Squirrelflight's tail went straight up and she flexed her claws as if she couldn't keep still. I'm going to tell Brambleclaw. Then he'll know that we don't have to worry about Ashfur. Nothing can stop us being together now. Nothing. She dashed off, passing Brightheart and Whitepaw as she raced past the bramble screen. Thanks for the fresh kill, Leafpool called after her. I just saw Daisy, Brightheart meowed, setting down a bunch of marigold. She says she's got a bellyache. She'll need watermint for that, Leafpool replied, slipping inside the cleft to fetch it. When she returned, Cloudtail had risen to his paws, carefully holding the injured one clear off the ground. I'll take the watermint to Daisy if you like, he offered. Oh my god, how daft can this cat be? He's right in front of his wife and his daughter, and he's jumping to his feet to offer to go bring this other girl watermint? Oh my god. Leafa was about to remind him that she had told him to rest, but before she could open her mouth, Brightheart snapped. I don't see you being so keen to help the cats who actually did some fighting. She turned her back on Cloudtail. Come on, Whitepaw, let's go and look for Juniper. The apprentice followed her out, casting a bewildered glance back at her father as they went. Cloudtail stared after them, his jaw sagging open with amazement. What did I just say? What do you mean? Leaful rolled her eyes. If he didn't know, there was no point in trying to tell him. Besides, she didn't want to get involved with this in his tangled relationships. She couldn't figure out whether he really wanted to be with Daisy or whether he still loved Brightheart and was just being a mouse-brained Tom. She dropped the water mitt in front of Cloudtail. Okay, you can take this to Daisy, she meowed. And after that, make sure you get some rest. She followed the white warrior as far as the bramble screen and watched him limping across to the nursery. In the center of the clearing, Squirrelflight stood beside Brambleclaw. She was meowing to him urgently, her tail waving in excitement. After a few heartbeats, Brambleclaw touched noses with her and twined his tail with hers. Oh my god, they're dating now. Leafpool suppressed a sigh. The sign of the mingled paw prints couldn't have been clearer, yet her pelt still prickled with fear when she saw him with her sister. Oh, StarClan, she murmured. Was I right to tell her?
Hi, Silent! That's it. That's the end of the chapter. Woohoo! We're on page 104. That means we met our quota for today. Guys, I'm so excited until we finish this book and we can go into Power of Three. I'm so excited.
Oops. Knock something over. How am I gonna last through the weeks when we do Warrior of Three? I might wind up streaming like longer streams just to read. That'd be funny. I love those books.
You guys get to meet my favorite character in Warrior Cats. Woohoo!
No longer streams, no, tragic, sad. All right, guys. I gotta go eat more than just chips. My tummy, it's grumbling.
Look at my foods.
I wanted to work more on my Discord, but I think I might take a break for tonight. Let my brain harvest. Harvest? I've done a lot. It's hard because some of the stuff I've been working on, I haven't been able to publish yet because I need it to be all done before I'm able to actually make it viewable for the rest of the Discord. Mickey and Peachy have seen me like just sending so many messages in the staff area. It's so funny. Oh my god, I almost knocked. That reminds me, I knocked. I forgot to clean it off my keyboard. Oh my gosh. I just remembered I spilled Dr. Pepper on my desk yesterday and it kind of splashed onto my keyboard and I cleaned up the Dr. Pepper that was on my table, but I forgot to clean the stuff that had fallen on my keyboard. So now I'm just looking at it and I can see the remnants of the Dr. Pepper splashes. Whoopsie. What's the word? Oh, proactive.
Most of it is just like, it's not even like exciting stuff. It's just me writing like more detailed rules and stuff like that.
So funny. I do want to do a credit section though. Credits.
And I have to remember that because I completely forgot. Credits. There'll be a stream credit. Stream credits. And then a Discord credits. Maybe. Have I done anything in Discord? I guess the icons and stuff. Yeah, that'd be good. Discord credits. Secrets! Yeah. Alright guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let's see if anybody is streaming right now that we can read. Oh. Oh, it is working. I thought it wasn't gonna be working. Cardi. Cinder! Ooh, let's read Cinder. I don't think I've rated Cinder in a very, very, very long time. Be nice! Oh, let me switch to the ending screen. Bow! Bow, bow, bow. Bow, 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 bow. I'm hopefully gonna be doing a collab on Friday? I'm not sure though. It really depends on how awake I'm gonna be, which sucks. Rawr. I need to figure out a way to not be so tired, but it's hard. It's hard. Oh, mom. Okay, guys. I love you. I'll see you next time. Hopefully soon. Hopefully the Discord will be done soon as well, and then we can be like all cool and stuff. Thank you again so much, Phil, for gifting the boosting things, because now our channel or our server looks so cool, and I can use all the icons and the other things. It's so cool. Okay.